Hello friends, welcome to Symbaroum. This is a TTRPG system created by Järnringen. It is a dark fantasy, gothic, spooky stuff in the forest TTRPG game. And this is dungeon mastered by my friend Obdurant. Kevin, please take it away.
Hello, yes, and welcome back to the campaign. The scene for this session sort of opens deep underground in the forests of Davokar, beneath this sort of labyrinthine complex of sort of ancient and in some places pristine buildings. And even below that, you can find more rough, hewn from stone passageways. And in one such passageway, stretching from east to west, there's an expansive room to the north that hosts a glowing, sort of swirling, frigid orb about 70 feet across. It's very large and it dominates the area. And before that room, two members of our party, Meira and Pekome, both changelings incidentally, have been frozen, rooted in place. They are unresponsive. And the sole remaining member of the party, Karmeon, has been trying to figure out what to do. And I believe he's been journaling about it, so I'll let him sort of recap what's happened and go over his plans moving forward.
Yes, to sum up events, I've prepared a bit of what Karmeon would write just to kind of wrap his thoughts around things. And Karmeon's journal is normally less of a chronological accounting and more of an organized encyclopedia. The most relevant section is the one titled Journeys, which does read more like a conventional diary, but is constantly cross-referencing other entries. Artifacts, individuals, and organizations are the largest categories, with smaller sections for events, ideas, and theories. Often there are general sketches, like the one we took of the room that produced the acid entity. Notable growing entries include the Drops of Dust, Black Gift, Meira, Pekome Bori, and the Retrieval of Bamilo. And to sum up events, I'll read from what may be the last entry in the Retrieval of Bamilo. If this entry is not followed by others, then know that I at least attempted to save 2 or 3 lives before falling. I have come to something of a disaster. 1 of 2 horses lost and 2 of 3 companions. See Meira Pekome. Frozen by some artifact of ancient Symbar. What I am terming a cold crystal. See cold crystal-artifacts-Symbar. We have fled further down into the Tower Ruin. See Tower Ruin, Journey for the Tablets. We were mostly fortunate enough to avoid battle, and the only new additions to our supplies are the remains of an ancient, perhaps sacred tree of the ancient Symbar peoples. See Ritual Tree. I have some amount of bark, 3 limbs, 1 half-burnt, and 1 surprisingly well-preserved leaf. Unusual properties, but nothing that seems likely to help deal with what has been done to my companions. At best, it has given me a painful cough to deal with after inhaling the smoke. Pekome's idea. Also, hallucinations, if those are not a side effect of the Drops of Dusk. Unlikely. They affect sight, not hearing? We discovered the cold crystal when it had already claimed 1 victim, some romantic-seeming, perhaps ancient and assuredly noble barbarian, at least by his dress. I do not know how he arrived in his state, and it is dangerous to assume that both he and Pekome have arrived in their states the same way as Meira, frozen in time, if not in truth, unreactive at best to outside stimuli, and disastrously reactive in some ways. Things break off in unusual ways. Meira's hood has been broken as if it were... And here, dots of ink blot the page, and the sentence is left unfinished. A new sentence begins. Time is short, and words escape me. Meira threw something at the crystal. I will generously here describe this as a very physical and pragmatic means to discover the cold crystal's reactivity. If struck back, putting her into the locked-in state. And this is capitalized and underlined. Pekome discovered more fully the unusual properties that this state brings by breaking off a portion of her hood. leaving one very worried about how other parts of her could be broken. We instead attempted to move the chieftain first and have tested multiple theories on him. I will not term them failures unless they break the bodily integrity. Merely attempted solutions that do not work. These are moving. If pressure is applied mostly evenly, then the locked state figures may be safely moved. The chieftain first, then Meira, were both successfully moved. What is notable that while at first incredibly resistant, moving them from their initial position broke something of the magic, leading to an easier time in transporting. I am considering removing the chieftain even further from the crystal to see if distance yet further changes their states. Fire! Despite the crystal producing both cold and a locked state, fire does not assist in any way changing the chieftain's state. It was not tested on Meira, given the general lack of reaction in any way. The entry ends here, at least for now. And Karmeon finishes writing and looks over where Pegame is still on the dais.
Yes. Yeah.
And still frozen.
She is, yeah. She had stepped up on it, and that's where the whole interaction happened. So she's petrified, looking up at the crystal.
I think the thing that Karmeon is most focused on is the fact that there were wagon tracks in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
And much like all other kinds of tracks, wagon tracks lead to wagons. Ideally.
True, yes. It's worth noting that these are pretty worn-in grooves in the stone. They're not necessarily recent.
they're it's stone, so not necessarily fresh, but
but there are tracks, and they do lead directly across the hallway through that sort of curving subterranean road that we mentioned that you haven't explored.
Karmeon's first plan is to go and start dragging the barbarian chieftain down the wagon track hallway.
So there is just a little problem with that.
What's the problem with that?
When Karmeon first checks in on this barbarian chieftain, from where he's been left in the hall, where the hallucinatory snake crawled over, the barbarian has been reduced to essentially a bloody smear of cloth and other things,
thus reducing
across the ground.
Reducing any guarantee that was a hallucination.
Rather, yeah.
Okay. He'll return, scratch out hallucinations, and then definitely acquire that broken off piece of Mira's hood, and then head off.
Okay.
Hoping for said wagon.
Certainly. So this road is pretty wide. There are several sets of grooves in the stone floor. It looks as though more than one wagon, probably two, but it's difficult to tell just from the tracks that are on the ground from however long ago. Could be carted side by side. And Karmeon gets perhaps 50 feet or so down this sort of gently sloping road before it has curved enough that he won't be able to look back and see the gates, like the open gateway anymore. What does he have for light right now?
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
He's Karmeon, so he doesn't need it, but he is okay, yeah, so he is essentially as that curve grows and all the sort of ambient light from the crystal is blocked out, he's left in utter darkness. And he can continue. The road is pretty long. It's well made insofar as anything that's just basically burrowed through stone can be. And it goes on sort of down and curving in what feels like a spiral, but it's of a slow enough pace that it's difficult to tell exactly to what degree he's turning. It will probably take at least 20 minutes before he encounters anything, if he doesn't go back.
Yeah, he's gonna keep going. I mean,
Okay. Yeah,
as
nothing
far
else
as
to do, right?
supplies, like supplies are a bit of a concern, but at least his companions don't have to worry about running out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice.
Very pragmatic perspective on that. So Karmeon continues, and it is probably a little odd to be so at ease in the darkness, because, I mean, previously you would not have been able to see anything at all, but
Right,
now
yeah.
it does.
There's
Yeah,
a
it just,
lizard brain
it's not.
part of Karmeon that's like, put on a light.
Mm-hmm. But even so, I mean, you can see everything pretty naturally, and more or less all you see is this vaulted high ceiling above you, and a long curving road with these worn out treads in them. And Karmeon, as a lore master, does know that there are reports of certain risks with venturing too deep into the ground beneath that Davokar. Sometimes there are accounts of people who have been sort of infected by corruption, either just by the deep or by things that they encountered there. But to this point, everything has been quiet. There's no, blight oozing from the walls or anything like that. But there is
No
probably...
striations in the rock.
Right. Yeah, there are no striations in the rock right now. But the air gets a little more stale the further you go from the sort of mystical breezes that sort of just encompassed that crystal hanging in the chamber. And eventually everything is quiet save for Karmeon's steps. There's no tracks of wind, no real sources from any other kind. And eventually there does appear to be a sort of structure up ahead. It isn't a building so much as it is what looks like a gatehouse built out of the stone that this road has been carved through. So it's just a building or a half building on each side that sort of sticks out with small, well, man-sized, small comparative to the scale of everything else, doors at each sort of structure. So one on the left and one on the right. And the wide gap in the middle where doors would be is empty. There isn't anything there. At least not right away, not immediately visible. Karmeon's still about, I'd say, 30 meters away or so when this comes into view from the curvature, and it seems to straighten out from there. But he's free to approach if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as Karmeon draws nearer,
there's this whole balance between like maybe it's some sort of invisible gateway that just devours you as soon as you step into it, and maybe you should chuck a rock at it, but chucking things at things hasn't worked out. Also, chucking things at things is noisy.
Yeah, that's very true.
Karmeon's just gonna walk. That's his strategy right now.
Okay. Yeah, and Karmeon walks, and that's a totally reasonable thing to do. Let me just get this. So as Karmeon draws nearer, it's very clear that the stone has just been sort of shaped out of the walls. It's not hewn into blocks and stacked or anything. It's just a smooth protrusion, save for the parts that have been flattened out for the sake of doorways or the gateway. And as Karmeon draws near, he can see that sort of on the inner curve of this structure where doors would have been anchored, there's actually sort of craters in the stone. Like there might have been hinges there once that have been pulled free along with everything attached with them, leaving sort of divots that themselves are probably larger than Karmeon's head. But who knows where the doors went? There's no sign of them beyond that particular sign of
They
their
haven't
absence.
been smashed into a pulp underneath a giant winding snake.
Correct. They have not. If anything happened here, it either was cleaned up or happened so long ago that any trace has evaporated.
Okay.
Pardon me. There's a door to Karmeon's left and a door to Karmeon's right at the entrance of each gate.
Are they doors large enough to fit a wagon through?
Nope, they are man-sized.
Okay.
Or perhaps a little larger. I'd say they're probably about 9 feet high and 4 feet wide each. And they're made of... it looks like it's probably metal.
In no particular order, Karmeon will try the right one, and then, assuming there's not immediate peril, the left one.
Okay. Yeah, so the right one is not latched. It's just there. And when you pull on it, initially it feels like it's locked into place, but given that Karmeon's probably giving it a little bit of effort,
Yeah.
it begins to grind open, and it's clear that resistance is really just the joints of the door, having been in one place for so long. So the door scrapes open with a low and probably discomfortingly loud, in comparison to the rest of the quietness, sound. And within, you can see that there's more or less, it looks like sort of a watch post type area. There's just a clean small stone chamber that could house maybe 4 or 5 people who are working at the same time. There's a desk protruding in stone, much like the room itself on the far side, and that's about all that he can see without going in.
Yeah, Karmeon will let sleeping guardsmen lie and check the next one.
Okay. This door sort of grinds open in a similar fashion. It's a little resistant at first, and then it begins to pull open. This room is much larger internally. It looks like it takes up the entire space provided by the structure, rather than just being a part of it. And it looks as though it's probably a storeroom. There are no stores within. There's just a lot of space for things to be organized and sorted. There's sort of a central pillar that helps lend support to the structure. On the left, sort of against the wall that would lead into the stone, into the surrounding rock that hasn't been worked, there is another door that you can see. But that's the only thing of any sort of import in there.
Yeah, we'll just leave the other door be and keep heading down and see. Part of the problem is that this just keeps heading down, and that's not up.
Correct.
But it leveled off. So maybe after this.
Yeah, uh-huh. And it
It's
does. I
up.
mean, it's straight and it is level, as far as you can tell,
Yeah.
as you press on.
Yeah. Definitely.
So Karmeon
Along.
resumes his trek. Excuse me. And I would say it's probably going to be another half hour before you encounter anything of note. It is a large and more or less silent corridor before you.
Okay.
After that half hour, you do notice that there's quite a bit of deterioration. It's not immediately sudden, but it might not have been all that noticeable before, where there are beginning to be cracks in the walls. And now there's a boulder on the ground to the side that you can easily skirt. And then there are a few more, and so on.
Are these boulders from? Would they fit in holes in the ceiling?
Yes. Yep. They definitely look like they have fallen from above.
Okay.
And go ahead and roll vigilance.
Okay.
Just flat. That's about all you can tell, that the boulders did come from above. There are sort of these just places where the stone has broken loose and fallen down.
Huh. Well, okay. This isn't good.
Mhm.
Lots of reasons this isn't good, but primarily it doesn't matter now if Karmeon finds a wagon. Well,
It
I guess
isn't
it does
necessarily enough to
block off. Okay.
completely block off returning.
Okay.
Karmeon sort of needs to step this way and that to keep going, but it does look like a wagon, if a human-sized wagon that Karmeon could make
Yeah.
use of, were
Okay.
to be found,
Okay.
could
Okay.
still be
Then
navigated around.
we're gonna cling to the one plan that Karmeon is sure will partly work if he can find it
Mm-hmm.
and keep going forward.
Oh, absolutely. Sounds good. So Karmeon continues, and not too far, perhaps 100 meters beyond where those boulders have settled, uh, there appears to be the start of civilization again, or at least the signs of it. There are structures that begin to be visible in the far distance that you can't quite reach. It's still a straight shot, so you can see much further than you were able to when the passage was curving. But it appears like there may be storefronts or just building edges, something that it sort of interferes a little bit with the passage of the road. And closer than that, as Karmeon continues, there are little gaps to the left and the right in the walls that appear to be small passages that could be explored
Okay.
or could hold any number of things.
Including dangers.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is the plan. The plan requires stepping forward.
Mm-hmm. So Karmeon continues, and it's about this time that Karmeon will notice the portion of hood that he was holding from Mayra
Uh-huh.
has fallen slack. It is no longer held into place. It is just a piece of cloth at this
Okay.
point.
That's a good sign, not the best of sign. Like, not, a perfect sign, but it's a start.
Yep. And as Karmeon goes forward, he does enter. He leaves the tunnel altogether in a sort of dramatic fashion, because for a moment it's been the same for a very long time, minus some obstructions here and there. There's just this expansive road that's bored into the stone. And then, as Karmeon steps forward, the ceiling leaps at least to 100 feet above his head. And even with his ability to see in the dark, it's difficult to make out anything just for sheer distance up above. He stands in some manner of plaza. There are buildings that sort of ring in, or box in, I guess I should say, to the left and the right in a hat. And they're all made from the same stone, and they all appear entirely deserted. But this appears to be some manner of entirely subterranean town or city, perhaps. You can't quite get a grip of the scale, just because you can't really see distance-wise how far it goes on from here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I suppose it's there's this choice between going back and the risk of transporting them is a lot more when you're having to risk dropping them and or drag them over an uneven surface. At least a little bit of a scout out for some sort of wagon and or sled.
Okay. Sure. So go ahead and roll me vigilance, and we'll say that this will cover basically an hour of searching through this area
Okay.
to see what you find. Great. Okay. So Karmeon has done his fair share of adventuring, and he does know how to navigate around ruins, even if typically they're ruins are a little closer to the surface and a little more traveled before him at this point.
But that just makes it easier this time.
Hey, if you end up not finding anything, would Karmeon have gone through our backpacks? Well, wait, can you access our things?
Yeah, see, that's why I don't think I don't think that's an option, so I didn't even think to ask.
I mean, just your hood was still frozen.
Yeah.
True. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
then.
so Karmeon could have accessed stuff like that by breaking into it, essentially, and that's the only way.
Gotcha.
And then potentially breaking everything trying to get it out, because it would all still be frozen too.
Possibly so, yeah.
As far as we know.
So he makes his way through what appear to be a number of homes and perhaps a shop. I mean, it's all you basically have to go on is a floor plan. But here and there, things are untouched. I mean, it looks like people just kind of up and left. There aren't signs of struggle or signs of calamity. It's just that people are gone. And that does mean that there's quite a bit of ancient furniture. Some of it appears to be stone in make, similar to just the surrounding city around you. And some of it's wood. Some of it is turned to sort of like a petrified. Some is rotted and turned into sort of puddles and just collections of chaff. Near one of the larger buildings on the far side of the plaza, Karmeon does find a little bit more. There's like a storeroom with a number of things in them. One is a braided length of what appears to be rope.
That's gonna be taken.
Mm-hmm. To the touch, it's very soft. You have no idea how long it's been there, but it feels strong if you test it. And it doesn't necessarily feel like it's the same fiber that you would expect to be, used to make rope. But whatever it is, it's strong, it's supple, and it's very usable. Let's see. Go ahead and roll a 1d20, please.
Gotta switch to Karmeon. Roll 20. Not 1 die 290.
Very different.
Especially in this system.
What a lukewarm roll of 10.
I know. I'll take it. Especially if it's a roll on the combat system.
This is what
it's not a 19, so you're winning already.
Excuse me.
Did Karmeon take everything with him?
No, he just took him with him.
Just him.
Okay.
It's... So I guess that's everything he could take. Honestly, he probably even left the... Actually, here's a question. Bear traps, just gone with the snake?
Yes, they are non-existent at this point. You didn't even see traces of metal left behind.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
You should still have one left. We only put down two.
We got two.
He only had two.
It was
I mentioned three because I just assumed there were three.
Well, one wasn't set up because one got handed to Pekome and Pekome just put it down.
No, then Karmeon set it up. So yeah, we're out.
Okay.
They're done. They did their purpose and it was good.
Okay. Karmeon ends up finding in that same storeroom with the rope, and there are a lot of other things. There are barrels, but it's hard to tell. All they have within them now is dust, basically. But he does find, tucked behind one such barrel, a sort of tablet, a marble tablet that's, even in this darkness, with Karmeon's clean vision, very light in color. It seems like it's a similar white coloration to the structure overhead, however far overhead it is now, of a woman in full battle dress fighting a sort of a two-headed figure with these dark streaks coming from the eyes and the mouth.
I don't want to meet either of these.
Does the woman look humanoid?
Yep. It's a little difficult to tell too much about her because it's definitely a somewhat feminine figure. She's wearing what it looks like some manner of hauberk, but she has a cape over her head, so you can't see too much of her face. And she's holding a spear and fending off the two-headed creature.
Karmeon will pocket this little curiosity.
It's probably a little too big to pocket, but
Oh.
yeah, you could easily tuck it into your pack.
Yes. In the hopes, optimistic such as they are, that they get anywhere. Have there been any wooden pieces of furniture?
Yeah, So there has been quite a bit of wooden furniture here and there. Some of it has decayed and turned to rot. Some of it has hardened into more of a petrified equivalent.
All right. So we haven't found a wagon. We found a tablet, a rope, and a table. Many table. Many. Karmeon tries breaking the legs off of the sturdiest looking table, which is a little counterproductive, but you know.
What does he use?
Not his rapier or stiletto.
Okay. You're just like turning it to your side and trying to kick the legs out or something?
Yeah, just...
Okay. Test strength for me?
Okay. Is it called strength? It's called strong.
Oh, strong.
Also,
right.
that's not Karmeon. This is Karmeon.
Okay, so Karmeon steps in on one of the legs, and there's quite a bit of ringing in the room as he slams down on it over and over. It does begin to splinter a little bit, but it's going to take a while at this pace to break off each of the legs.
Well, that's the only plan he's got, so he's gonna do it.
Okay. Yeah, so Karmeon does manage, eventually, with time and noise, to sort of cleanly snap off each of the legs of this table. They feel harder than, normal would, due to their curing process or whatever. But eventually he's left with a fairly round table and in four, perhaps 3.5, 4 foot table legs in a pile on the ground.
All right. Karmeon is going to move this thing just as noisily as the entire process has been, if not more so, out into the street and make himself into a mule and the table into a sled with the rope.
Okay. So he just starts dragging the rope behind,
Actually,
he
you know
uses the
what?
rope.
This is dumb. This is dumb. I saw this on Breaking Bad. I'm an idiot criminal. I roll the table back.
Okay.
We'll make a sled later when we have to. We walk it back, rolling it.
Okay, fantastic.
That's a smarter plan. I learned this from Breaking Bad. So yeah, Karmeon just kind of rolls the tape. He just walks alongside it and he moves his hands in a circle to keep them both on it, and just keeps rolling it down the hallway back to his companions.
Okay, that sounds good. So Karmeon sets back.
It's still noisier than, his...
Yeah, it's quite noisy.
Yeah.
And go ahead and roll discreet for me at like -3.
Yeah,
Because-
this isn't really a thing you can do discreetly. But discreet is one of Karmeon's top tier stats.
Yeah. All right. Karmeon, you set back. You're able to manage the table in a way that it doesn't make quite as much noise as you might expect. You find a wheel groove in the floor and start the somewhat long process of bringing it back to the crystal and Karmeon's companions. Speaking of those companions,
Uh-oh.
Well, this is where we get squished by an invisible
no,
snake.
no, nothing so bad.
Maybe
At least
Uh,
I'm on the
taking a
dais.
nap.
There's a good chance it went around it. You're fucked.
Mayra threw soap at this crystal, and when it lashed out, she tried to dodge to the side but wasn't able to, and was struck by this bolt that led to that icy sensation, and then she froze. And to her perception, nothing changed. That was just something that happened, and nothing has happened since. There's been no waiting, there's been no being trapped. There's just a gap. But suddenly, Mayra sort of is somewhere else. She finds herself sitting on one of many tiered seats carved of stone, carved from the wall, and plated in this sort of light blue, glossy covering. It looks, I don't know, it looks a little iridescent. It's almost like some manner of shell, but it's clearly been artificially applied
Like
as
a
sort of
lacquer?
a lacquer. That's a fantastic word that I would have used if I thought of it. Like a lacquer all the way around the room, which itself is made of this darker stone. It's a fairly rough stone, but it gleams in the reflection from this lacquer and from these very bright lanterns that hang from the ceiling. In the center of the room, there's a dais that is about 70 or so or 80 feet across. It occupies the very center of the room. And on it stand a group of about 10 people or so. They aren't necessarily familiar figures, but they do seem known to you for the moment. And Mayra notices that there are hundreds of other people occupying these chairs around her, or the seats rather, in every direction. She sits sort of near the entrance, just to one side, and as she observes, there's a group of people, and where most of the people who have been sitting around this room are wearing sort of silk that's vibrantly colored and definitely catches the light from the lanterns above, which makes it feel as though you're almost outdoors, though this is clearly underground. These people are clad in sort of dark steel guard. They're clearly guardsmen of some manner, and they escort a figure with an iron crown and similar silk gear to the other civilians in the area. And the group steps up towards the dais. Does she do anything?
So as Mayra looks around, Mayra would like to make out the details of those around her. Do they appear to be human?
They do. They seem human. They aren't necessarily a sort of human that Meira is necessarily familiar with. Their features are longer and they're taller and a little more slender, but they clearly aren't elves. They're just a more graceful sort of person, as far as she can tell.
Are they so tall that Maida is much smaller? Maida is 5'2".
Right now, they don't seem to be any different in height from Meira herself.
Okay. Maida looks around frantically. She's looking at those that are sitting closest to her.
Mm-hmm.
Do they look back at her?
How frantically is she looking around?
Her head is whipping side to side. She's as if an animal displaced and uncomfortable.
So there is a quiet undercurrent of conversation. People are obviously trying not to draw attention to themselves, but they're excited. They're chatting with their neighbors. Excuse me.
Are they speaking in a language I recognize?
Yes, they do appear to be speaking as you can understand. It's quiet enough that you're only catching fragments of conversation, but they're words that are familiar to you. Something about a ceremony, something about excitement, and so on. Most of them aren't looking at Meira, but as she sort of begins to frantically look around and has that animalistic fright to her, someone down a row or two does look back and sort of quizzically eyes you, though no one says anything right now.
Meira will stare down at this person. She kind of stills entirely. What does this person look like?
This is a fairly young man with jet black hair that has been cropped short for the most part, and what hair he does have has been slicked back. Not with what appears to be a gel or something, but it's held back. It looks very liquid and clean. Let's see.
What are these people wearing?
Well, the people sitting around the rows are mainly wearing silks.
Okay.
That's fairly colorful, and it definitely catches the light of the lanterns overhead. They have a variety of different styles and colors. This man, for example, is wearing what looks to be some manner of tunic. It gathers at the shoulders and then sweeps down in a sort of wavy rather than a close-cut form. He has a sort of golden chain of a belt with some manner of pouch clasped off to one side.
After staring down at this person for probably a gaze much longer than is appropriate or comfortable, she will look towards the group of guards.
Okay.
Just sort of watch. She becomes very still, kind of hyper aware of what's going on around her, and trying not to draw attention.
Sure. So the guards are advancing. There appear to be a set of 6, 3 on each side, flanking this regal figure that is entering the room. And as they reach the dais, they step off to the sides. None of them step up onto the structure. They kind of fan out in a very wide circle around the base of the dais as the figure that they were escorting advances up atop it and takes 2 steps to rise onto the center of the platform, and she begins walking to the center of the dais. The guards have their backs to her now. They're sort of examining the crowd. They look very stoic and responsible, but not necessarily hostile or anything like that, just aware.
Ooh. As they are kind of positioning themselves, Maida will... She did not get a very close look at the person that was frozen in the middle of the room when we got there.
Mm-hmm.
But she would have like had a vague idea of what their back looked like.
Yes.
So she just kind of scans over the area to see if she can recognize a familiar shape of or color of clothing.
Mara does not manage to recognize anything like that. In fact, there's this distinctly different feel to this culture, the shape of these people and their garb, from what you remember of the man who was advancing on the dais.
Okay, so that was a total stranger.
Mhm.
Maida would probably fidget her hands together. She would move her hands very slowly to kind of touch her clothing and see if she still has her dagger nearby.
She doesn't.
Okay.
Mara is, in fact, wearing a sort of festive set of attire that's quite different than the leathers that she set out on. Out in, rather. She has a sort of topaz-ish color of a dress that goes from shoulders to the floor, and over it is a kind of bunched up sash that goes from one shoulder to one hip, with some manner of colored stitching that seems like it communicates a message, but there's no telling from her perspective what it means. But it is a very sort of ceremonial or formal outfit, and there's no blade, no dagger or anything like that.
Oh, this is the
In fact-
nicest thing that Maida has ever worn.
At the bottom of the sash, there is like a series of chain links which are bound together in order to hold what appears to be some sort of stylized quill, although it's less a quill than a like a carved piece of stone with a slot at the bottom that appears to be used for writing.
Huh. Maida will sort of reach for that and just set it in her lap so it's close by.
Mm-hmm.
She's fidgeting with it and she'll watch to see what else happens.
Quite suddenly, someone on the far side of the rows, seated at the bottom, a sort of broad-shouldered man who's wearing a very fine set of clothing. He has sort of this trim tunic with a stiff collar that nearly reaches his jawline with a slot down the center, and sort of these fine trousers, stands up and charges onto the dais. He advances past the nearest guard and sets a foot up on, and he begins shouting out something, although it's too impassioned to quite understand what the words were. And then it cuts off suddenly, and he's standing stock still. Pekome,
Yes.
you find yourself standing 1 foot on the stone ground of the chamber that you were in moments before, and 1 foot on the dais. However, it's now much brighter than it was. There's a regal figure standing in the center of the dais who has just now begun to turn back to stare at you in a mixture of surprise and anger. Around the dais, there are 6 figures in armor that are turning to consider you, although none have yet begun to move for you or even look as though they will begin to move for you. Around the room, the bench, the tiers of benches that once occupied the chamber look resplendent in a sort of iridescent lacquer. And there are a number of lanterns hanging above that bathe the chamber in a very bright light. What do you do?
Well, first, can I just say I really like your use of the word lacquer?
Thanks, it's a great word. I came up with it.
So currently the only person regarding her is the regal looking one?
No, there are several hundred people in the room, and they're all staring at you.
Oh, much worse. And I'm in the center where I was before, or just at the entrance to the room?
You are exactly where you would have. Well, you're about a step or two behind where Pekome froze.
Okay.
Yeah. So rather than being entirely on the dais, you are now half on it, but in roughly the same spot otherwise.
Do I have any of my gear?
No.
Okay.
As you sort of take stock of yourself, you realize not only do you not have your gear, you appear to be a gentleman right now, wearing a close-fitting tunic that's quite fine, very fine trousers. You feel like a noble of some kind.
I know what that feels like.
Yeah, being a noble, you seem, your disposition is that of someone from that crust of society. You have a little bit of a beard and very dark hair, and no armor, no sword. Although there is a little knife in your belt, sort of hanging from the left side.
Concealed or?
No, it's kind of ornate. It has this very fancy jewel set in the hilt, and
So it's for
clearly for show. Yeah, and it would be an underwhelming weapon to fight anyone with. That's for sure. Especially
I stab you with my butter knife. It breaks and then I die. Is there any talk in the room? Like, is there muttering, or is everyone just silent?
So right as your awareness shifts, there's a murmuring gasp throughout the entire room, and then there's just stock stillness. There's a little shifting here and there as people kind of try to get a better look at you, but no one is saying anything at all right now.
All right. As like pure muscle memory and not knowing like where she is in the situation, she like puts her hand to where her sword would be, but finds nothing.
Yeah.
And then just pauses for a moment as she slowly they slowly scan the room. He, them, it.
You can keep saying she. Like, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Excuse me. So the regal figure turns to stare at you, somewhat blankly, and after a moment, she says, with a shake of her head, "What do you mean by this, Christoph?"
All right. So now is even worse. Because now there's a conversation I'm missing.
Yes.
She's gonna roll with it and just try to like straighten herself up, like as a noble, project like a much more confident attitude than she's feeling at all in what's going on.
Sure.
And just say, I had hoped I wouldn't have had to say it a second time.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your persuasive at -1.
All right, don't fail me now, persuasive. It's your first chance.
This is not quick.
It's like my best skill.
It's disappointing. Okay.
Look, she's not used to talking. Never get to use the skill.
Clearly it's a +4 because he looks
rusty.
so damn good.
Yeah, Mayor is off in the background supporting me.
Yeah. Sending
+4.
positive vibes.
All right, how bad does this go?
Her eyes flash angrily as you say that. And she takes a single step forward, which in turn leads the two nearest armored figures to also take a single step forward towards you. And one of them has a hand on the pommel of a sword, and it looks like the other does as well, but they don't advance any further than that. And she says, "You needn't have said it even once. We've been over this before, and I've made my decision. You have no place to bring the attention of this ceremony to you, or to set back our people."
I don't understand a word you just said.
Uh-huh.
So let's see. She, in response to their movements, she is not going to step back, but she's gonna slightly incline her head, just lower it a bit
Okay.
to try and show a stature of like submission.
Mm-hmm.
But she's going to stand resolute and say that that things are changing and we're going to have to change with them.
Okay.
She has no clue what's going on.
She relaxes just a little at the sort of body language that Pekame adopts. And she sort of clenches her jaw for a moment with what Pekame says and responds, That's exactly what I've been saying for years now, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Now go get out of the way. The sacrifice is going to be brought momentarily, and if you're standing there, then you might as well be it.
Well, this is terrible.
Run!
Her hands kind of clench unintentionally at the word sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't raise her head, but she after a moment's hesitation says, "Surely there has to be a better path than sacrifice."
Go ahead and roll your persuasive again.
Minus what, 17 this time?
Just one still for being relatively off balance in this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Hey!
Oh.
Yes.
Sorry, she just had to warm up,
Yeah, naturally.
Context clues.
Got a little tongue-tied.
The figure in the middle of the dais looks as though she's going to snap something at Pekame/Christoph for a moment. But she holds her tongue, and she draws in a very deep breath and sort of lets it out. Gives a circumspect glance this way and that to the hundreds of people that are staring right now. And then she briskly steps over to Christoph. And each of the guards draws nearer as well. They're sort of flanking Pekame at about 4 feet away as she draws in about 4 feet away as well, though still on the dais.
Mm-hmm.
And she leans forward, just 45 degrees or so, and lowers her voice a little. And she says, "There is no turning back from this course. You know that as well as I. And I know that you have voiced more than enough times your reservations with what we are going to do. But this is the only way that our people reach the heights that we deserve. And I am not turning back now. Now, please, go sit down."
God damn it, they sacrificed someone and ascended, these bastards. the worst people. Pekome is gonna like look to the edge of her vision, see the people flanking around them,
Mm-hmm.
and she is going to tentatively take a step back, and then as she's like slowly backing up, just whisper, "But what if it doesn't work and the sacrifice was for nothing?"
She looks a little solemn at that prospect, but her response is almost flippant as she straightens. She says, "It won't be the first time we've had blood on our hands now, will it?" And then steps back towards the middle of the dais. Mayra, you've been observing all of this. Does she do anything, or is she just kind of taking it in?
Do I see Kristoff or do I see Pekome?
You see Kristoff. This
You
is
see
not
Pekov.
Pekome as far as you can tell.
Okay.
Depending on how familiar they've grown, maybe that grasping for a sword that isn't there was eerily reminiscent of Pekome. But in terms of timbre and appearance, this is definitely some kind of lord.
She didn't
You've never
instantly get into a fight.
Yeah. So Maida has her attention drawn towards the guards and definitely notices this person that was briskly / loudly approaching the dais, and her eyes are on them, and she recognizes the grasp and the jarring kind of transition. Something's weird, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And she's staring for some time, and then she looks down at the person who was staring back up at her.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still staring, or
No, his attention has been completely taken by the scene in the middle of the room around the ruler and Kristoff.
okay? Maida will try to stand up and make her way down, probably with the intention to leave.
Okay.
She's going
Sure.
to try to not draw any attention to herself. She'll kind of
This would be-
shrink down and be meek and...
This would be a hilarious crit fail.
Oh my gosh, please.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, go ahead and roll your discreet at -2, I suppose. Well, you are the only person standing up from the rows who's moving.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maida, you're so dumb. Why would you choose right now to do that? It doesn't matter!
Okay. Yeah, a couple of the people nearest do, of course, take note as Mara moves, and she gets a quizzical glance here or there. But no one stops her, and she manages to avoid the public eye. Most of the folks are watching Kristoff, and fortunately, none of the guards seem to interpret her moving as moving to join the festivities up there.
Mm-hmm. So Maida will definitely not approach the dais. She's
Yeah.
more or less just untangling herself from being up on the seats.
Right, to try and duck out the entrance.
She won't leave necessarily yet. She's gonna hover near the entrance. She's gonna watch a little longer.
Okay.
But she looks around for an escape route.
Sure. There is only one way in and one way out, as far as Mayor can tell. The awning doorway that leads out just behind where she's standing now.
Okay.
The trip back through the darkness goes quietly and blessedly smoothly for Karmeon. He wheels his makeshift sled along, and he doesn't encounter anything. Fortunately, he's either quiet enough or these halls are abandoned enough that nothing disturbs him. As he comes up the arc, pardon me, there's a pale glow that begins to seep down the hallway as you curve your way back up. And then you're back where you started. To the left and the right, there's sort of the stretching hallway that you came from, and directly ahead of you are the open doors that lead to that glowing crystal in the center of the room, and both Pekome and Mera, who have not moved at all.
Convenient.
Mm-hmm.
So the Karmeon's just gonna kind of sit down and just add a few things to his journal there. You know, an update for posterity. Still kind of assuming he might just die before achieving anything.
Right.
And we haven't moved. You know, Pekome hasn't been moved at all, and it was
Difficult to move Mera at the start, yeah.
Yeah, it was something of a trial to move the chieftain or Mera, and required, at least we utilized 2 people, and it was still difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Karmeon will probably utilize the rope to make a makeshift sled and secure just Meira to it. Did the hood revert at any point?
Nope.
Okay.
It is still soft and malleable in its little scrap form.
Okay, then that's great. That means that the plan of taking Meira out enough to break whatever horrible enchantment there is, and then returning to retrieve Pekome is a go.
Okay.
Let's see. One thing I need to check is my equipment / bio. I have 1 rope. It says so right here. So Pekome or Meira is getting tied to the table, and the second rope, the fresh rope, new rope, which I'm adding, is what's being used. Rather old rope,
Right.
but nicer. 1 is what's being used to kind of make Karmeon into the only mule they have, but the world's worst mule.
Right. Okay. So you do lash Mera to the sled, and then sort of set up a system that you'll be able to drag it by with assistance from the other rope. Does Karmeon set off right back the same way? There is still the western passage of the hallway that remains unexplored.
I think that, yes, the problem is, you know, if the western passage goes exactly the same distance as required to break the hood's enchantment minus 1 foot, it would be a bit of a waste.
Right.
But at the same time, Karmeon's a curious sort and does want to know what's down that passageway.
Okay.
And so he'll drag her that way.
Okay. Yeah. So Karmeon sets off with much scraping and noise and drags the statue-like form of Mera along the sled on the western stretch of this hallway. What is... Ooh, okay. Pardon me. The western portion of the hallway at first appears very similar to the passageway that y'all initially walked down once you entered this level from the stairs above. It is rough and clean, but unadorned. Gradually, that becomes a little more rough and a little less clean. There are trickles of dampness here and there on the walls. There are odd impressions on the stone that you can't quite discern.
Huh.
And as Karmeon continues, eventually it becomes visible that ahead there is a clear stopping point in the corridor. It just ends. It doesn't look like it's been caved in. This was an intentional end, but it is also just a dead end, or that region of it just stops. However, just to the side, there's an awning or an opening in the passage, and beyond that, it appears the worked stone gives way to natural stone that leads out into sort of an expansive cave of sorts. And it does, as far as you can tell, without actually going in and giving any form of exploration right away, appear to be a natural cave system that this passage taps into in the back somewhere.
Okay, well, they do need a way out, and that might be, a way out.
Mm-hmm.
So, Karmeon gives Mihira a good luck pat and keeps going.
Okay.
Cover my head.
No. It's just gonna fall off.
Hey, man. Wait, so you're
Okay.
continuing into the cave system?
Yep.
The ground here does get more rough, but you are, using a sled, so where it can be difficult to drag here and there, it does keep Mayra from being banged up along the way for the most part. The cave is expansive. It reaches out far and wide, and there are more sounds here. You can hear the movement of water somewhere, dripping from the ceiling, running in a small river. And maybe you can't really hear much beyond that. Well, actually, let's find out if you can. Go ahead and roll vigilant.
Nope.
Yep, you can't really hear more beyond that. As of right now, there isn't really a grade to the cave. It's roughly flat, which means overall, it's very much not flat while you're walking it. There are ridges that go up and down in the ground as you work across it, but you don't seem to be making headway in one direction or the other, which I suppose is a step up from how it started, going down the opposite road.
We've gained altitude in potential escape routes.
Mm-hmm. At the far end of this cave, when you reach it, there is a what looks to be, as far as you can tell, a man-made passage that has been sort of chopped into the stone. It has turned what may have been a very narrow gap into a traversable one. It might be a very tight squeeze with your sled, but it's more or less a short,
especially for this
5
part.
or so foot.
Karmeon will get both hands on the sled and start dragging it through
Okay, sure. And this little passage is probably only about 5 or 6 feet long before you reach an adjoining chamber. This cave is the sort of stone. There's like a semicircular platform of sorts of stone that you step out onto, and it only extends about 5 feet from where you stand out into towards the center of the chamber before dipping into what appears to be a very expansive underground lake. However, it does continue along the edge of the room in a sort of narrow passage, so you can, continue. You aren't stuck, but the water appears to be very fresh and very dark and very deep.
Karmeon tries the water.
Okay, he tastes it? Like,
Yep.
just drinks it?
Yep.
Oh no. Our
No-
fate is in the hands of this dude right here.
Our fate is in the hands of an idiot.
Nothing immediately happens. It tastes, pretty crisp. It's certainly refreshing. Let's see. Yeah, we'll double back on that a little later. Mayra, would you go ahead and make a resolute test -4?
Oh, that's awful. You know how much resolute I have?
I do. I've already made a couple of those rolls. But
+4.
nope. Nope, that's the opposite.
Dang.
Wow.
Do I roll to confirm
Confirm
that?
it.
Yeah, you can roll to confirm.
-4.
Okay.
It's just a
This
regular
receives normal
success.
success. Cool. Mayra kind of lingers at the entrance of this chamber and watches the dialogue between Pekome, who is currently Christoph, and this unknown ruler at the center of the dais. And she watches the other people, and suddenly there's a sensation of rippling almost. It doesn't affect her vision, but it's jarring. Her sense of self is suddenly just made much weaker, and it coincides with the passage of about 12 people in very clean and plain white cotton robes, who are walking in pairs through the doors just past her and towards the center of the dais.
They're walking in.
They are walking in from beyond. And suddenly, everything is gone. Your sense of time is totally gone. It's askew, but Mayra finds herself bound in some form of rope to something hard in the dark.
Oh no.
And there's probably the sound of scraping and the movement of water nearby.
Oh, okay. Huh. And it's dark. There's no light.
It is pitch black, yep.
Oh my god. Okay. Maida's first instinct is to escape. She pushes against her bonds to see if she can wriggle free.
See, they're meant to secure something that doesn't move.
Yeah.
So, once something starts moving, that's a huge problem for these bonds.
Right.
Not part of the design process.
Which is to say that she can probably
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she's going to just... Oh my god, it's pitch black dark. She can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna blindly reach on herself for where she keeps her dagger.
Okay. Yeah, I don't believe anyone took anything from her, so
One
she should
thing,
have
and
everything.
It's only your hood.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I guess the hood is the only thing.
So she'll reach for her dagger, make sure it's still there, and she will basically just push herself free of the sled and just kind of throw herself to the ground.
Okay. Karmeon.
Mira?
Karmeon.
Yeah. Let me find a light. And Karmeon will search his pack for one of the I think his only torch he's ever had and hasn't had to use since entering the ruins, and he'll kind of, slowly strike it up and raise it and be like, "You're back."
Upon hearing Karmeon's voice, she's gonna instantly relax. She will look a little confused and shaken in the light of the torch. And she's holding her head, and touching her head, she realizes that her hood is gone. She just sort of tugs at her tunic neck part, a little confused, and say, well, I saw something.
But yeah.
It was a vision of some sort. Of the people.
Did you see the snake?
Snake? I saw no snake.
Oh.
I saw people. The people that lived here.
I think I visited their town, and it's huge. Are there lots? How many?
Hundreds. She just kind of looks down one length of the tunnel, down the other length of the tunnel. We need to go back.
Yeah. I figured out that if you go, see, I think this is the way out, maybe, if we're lucky. And if not, we found water, and that's lucky too. I think this is the way out, but yeah, the other way is to their settlement, and it's dusty. There's nothing for us there that's going to keep us alive while we try and find a way out. So I think this is the way. So we need to go back. You've missed a lot.
So have you.
Yeah, I think you've missed more. We need to move Pegome, but we need to move her carefully so that we don't break her into pieces. Oh, you don't know what happened. Yeah, you were frozen solid like the chieftain.
What?
Gentleman. You were frozen solid, and Pegome tried tugging on your hood, and it broke. Solid. I've got notes.
As you're having this conversation with Meira, she's going to crouch down and sort of touch the ground. She's gonna lick her finger, try to get a sense of drafts, if there's any wind here. Maybe try to listen for the water and get a sense for any information with the general knowledge of outdoor stuff that Stella doesn't know.
Yeah,
but maybe what can she glean from this tunnel?
So go ahead and roll vigilant for me.
This is going to be awful. No, I am a good hunter. Yes.
Yes.
So it's clear to Meira that she is, first off, not in a tunnel, but in a very, very large cavern of sorts. This is a deep cave. And the water appears to dominate most of it. The light afforded by Karmeon's torch is totally inadequate to actually give any sense of scale for Meira, who is far more limited by it than he is. So what she does gather is that there is wind coming through this passage, or not passage, but area, very lightly, and it's coming from further ahead. So I guess Meira doesn't necessarily have any sense of where further ahead is, but the direction that she would intuit the breeze is coming from is the direction that Karmeon has been working towards to this point.
Okay.
And that's more or less it. Just because, by merit of your very small figures on the edge of a very, very large lake right now.
Meira shall relay all of this. Yes, I think this is the way out. She looks at the at the sled. How are we going to get Pekome onto this?
I got you on there. I mean, we're gonna have to move her all at once because she's in a locked-in state where she resists moving.
Maida
But if you
gives you like
move,
a flat look.
if you move her all at once, then she'll break out of it, and then we can move her,
You want,
and then we'll tie her on there.
you want to drag this mountain of a woman dressed in heavy armor on
I don't
a
want
piece
to,
of
but there's
wood.
no other way. This is the best we've got.
Okay.
And we don't have the food to look for more. We got the water, though.
We will do it together.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's why I moved you first.
You are smart.
Thank
Also, when was the last time you healed me?
This day.
Okay.
I mean, you know, we need a whole nap period before.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm keeping track.
Mm.
Like neither of us, you know, we need a sleep.
Maida will essentially help in whatever fashion is the easiest way to get the plank of wood back.
No, it's a circle piece of wood. See,
Oh.
I was thinking of a long rectangular piece but then
were
Evan
you?
was like, it was a circle, and I was like, wait, I know what to do. You roll it.
Ah,
Okay.
It's
Maida
a
will
wheel,
help.
so we roll it.
Well, okay, so Maida's gonna let you do all the rolling, and she'll hold the torch.
Ropes and torch, yeah.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't. You're holding the torch for you. Yeah,
Yes.
Karmeon does not need that. Karmeon just walks it along very noisily and keeps an eye out.
Maida follows.
Okay, great. So yeah, you can make your way back and won't run into any particular trouble along the way. It takes some time to get back because Karmeon did make a fair bit of progress down that hallway and through the initial cave, which itself is quite large as well. Although Mayra has difficulty really feeling the scope because outside of the narrow passage that leads into that first cave, the torch doesn't manage to reach anything. There's just this broken ground that Karmeon is leading her across, and then darkness in every direction while you cross this cave. But eventually, go ahead.
When we get back to the main chamber, once the light allows enough for her to see, she's going to extinguish the torch to preserve it.
Okay.
And she won't throw a bar of soap at the big giant crystal.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think as far as decisions go, it's a solid one.
Thanks. I came up with that all by myself.
Awesome. Excuse me. So you do get back to the normal corridor, and a little time after that, there is the glow from the crystal, and just shortly thereafter, you reach this room that is quite familiar at this point, that has Pekome, which is news to Mayra, frozen in place a couple steps up on the dais, sort of armored face pointed up at the crystal.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going. Do you want to take the top half or the bottom? I should take the bottom half, I think.
Hmm.
And then they ripped me in half.
um. Okay. Have you tried taking off her armor?
Oh, you know how your hood, and he points to his head, clean off. I don't think we want to do that to any part of her.
Okay.
Because if we do it wrong, then, you know, clean off.
Okay.
V, at the time that Pekome was locked into place, was she still wearing her pack and all the bonus pieces of armor that she's been carrying around?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
She was still carrying everything.
Mm-hmm. Carry on.
Okay.
Yeah, so Karmeon's just kind of... He's
Yeah.
the shorter of the two, I'm pretty sure, which is impressive.
Yeah, I believe Maida was a few inches taller than you.
Yeah. Karmeon is the shortest boy.
Why not be tall like Pekome?
Because the dice roller I used did not allow it.
We work together.
Yeah. Okay, so just
Try not to drop her.
on... I think it's okay if we drop her.
Wow.
As long as we both drop her. So if...
Together.
Yeah, if you drop her, just say so. And if I drop her, I'll say so. And then we just let her go. But we don't want to... on 3. And not... Just saying 3 will count to it.
1, 2, 3, drop, or 1, 2, drop.
1, 2, 3, push.
Oh.
My life is in the hands of 2 idiots.
2, 3, push.
1, 2, 3, gently place onto the table.
Well, we can't do anything with her yet because she won't move.
Ah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, push.
1, 2, 3, push, and then gently place on table.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3,
Push.
push.
Okay, we push together.
Am I dead?
Do we get any bonuses for our immaculate planning?
Oh man.
Timing is made us so good with precision and timing. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I have a trait for this. I'm a marksman. I'm kidding.
She accurately applies her strength in the correct location.
Okay. So I'd like a strong test from each of you. I think the modifier with such exquisite coordination is a little more toward your favor than it would normally be, although the base level of trying to push a heavy armored woman much larger than either of you clad in extra heavy armor was pretty substantially not in your favor to begin with.
Listen,
Also
people
turned into a
can
statue.
topple statues all the time,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, sometimes the heads fall off.
True.
That's why we don't push the
Yeah.
head.
Toppling statues usually doesn't result in the statues being intact. So go ahead and roll strength, each of you, and the modifier I'd say is just a -1.
Okay.
See, I'd already had -2 written. Not even a
I
problem.
almost gave you -2. I probably should have given you -2.
So
but,
before we count it down, Maida would do some stretches.
okay.
Limbering up. Maida is strong. Oh fuck.
Well, I'm dead.
Oh no.
Okay, so one of you succeeded and the other failed.
Yeah, the top half failed.
Where were each of you pushing?
Yeah, Karmeon was pushing the
Karmeon
bottom
was
half,
lower,
as he's
right?
the shorter half.
The
Mhm.
chest.
Okay.
Sorry, Pekome. I hope you don't need legs.
Yeah, so Karmeon kind of gets his shoulder in there and is pushing hard into Pekome to try and send her back down the stairs of the dais onto the sled below. Where did you guys position that necessarily? Further
we're
forward?
just trying to get her off of it. We can then move the sled closer, you know? It's
Okay,
not so much
you're
about...
just trying to dislodge her is
Yeah,
all it is right
yeah.
now. Okay. And Mayra has a little more trouble getting purchase on the dais and pushing higher. She can't get her weight quite as low, and her feet sort of start skidding just a little bit along the dais at the same moment that Karmeon sort of hears a couple creaking snaps from the armor.
Whoa, stop. And Karmeon also stops. Let's try switching.
So after you stop, there's a little scraping of metal on dais,
Uh-huh.
and Pekome's feet slide just a little bit to one side, and then her whole figure starts to rotate and swing and look like it's gonna crash down onto the ground. If you want to do any sort of catching, you can roll quick for it. Otherwise, you can just let it happen.
Oh, I have 3 hit points, dude. This is not gonna go well. I'm gonna get crushed by Pekome. Oh my god, if this is how I go out, I'm gonna be so salty.
Look, admit
Maida's
it, this is how she wanted to go out.
being crushed
Smothered to
by
death.
being crushed by a large noblewoman, of course. Yeah, Maida is all reflex. She's
Mhm.
definitely going to try to catch her.
Okay. Yeah, just go ahead and
Hopefully
roll
someone will help. But any modifiers?
quick. No, I think pretty much all of Mayra's talents would level out any sort of disadvantage in the situation.
Maida is nimble as a cat. Much more nimble than falling down into a pit of sand.
Who's ready to become a paraplegic?
Nice. Got it.
Okay.
Karmeon just stands there and is like, we should have tied her to something.
As
Maybe
this
a
happens,
pulley.
Help me.
And then I guess he'll kind of belatedly step in to assist. Maybe not so much quickly as just reacting to the reaction, you know?
sure. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
so
isn't-
as Karmeon sort of verbally processes where they went wrong, Pekome starts to thunder to the ground, and Mayra manages to, quick as a cat, kind of slide under and try to catch her, which is difficult, given how much weight Pekome is carrying around these days. And,
You calling me fat?
well, I'm calling you clad in, like, 2 suits of armor, basically. Karmeon belatedly helps Mayra out before, she totally just falls down beneath the armored figure. And you've got her, quote-unquote, mobile.
Let's get her over.
We put her onto the table and secure her.
Great.
Then we pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like you both to roll strong again, to sort of determine the pace that you'll be moving her around in. I suppose the modifier will be flat. Because, okay.
I mean,
So-
even if it wasn't, I think I was fine.
Yeah, you were definitely fine with the 5, that's for sure. Yeah, okay, so you set out. And with 2 people, it's easier than it would be with 1 person, but it's really difficult, nonetheless. You have this Ambrian noblewoman in heavy plate on a sort of dinner table, and you drag her out from the corridor, into the corridor, and then down the corridor. And the going gets all the more rough once you enter the cave again. And there's a lot of scraping here and there. But in time, and considerable time, this is taking its toll on your stamina and your hunger and your thirst and just about everything. It's not
Karmeon's
doing
walked
Mayra's...
like
Sorry?
at least 12 miles, probably.
Yeah, Karmeon has
Bragging.
put in work today,
Yeah.
and he's definitely flagging. But he's still got enough in him to kind of keep going, and Mayra can pitch in a little bit.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
I think
she
she's
looks like she's
largely
pitching in.
ornamental
She's
right now.
moral support
Oh, gotcha.
and or getting in the way. Just like, why is your foot there?
That is something she would say, yes.
He makes this only just the worst thing Karmeon's done today instead
rather
of the
than
thing
also
he can't
impossible.
do.
Yeah. So you gradually drag her. You do need to stop for a break partway through the first cave, but in time, you get back to that same chasm and or gap, and you slip out onto the stony bank of this expansive underground lake. And Pekome, would you go ahead and roll resolve or resolute at -4, please?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's the easiest thing ever.
That's a pretty good roll for you.
Oh,
I think that's a success, right? That's close enough where we can fudge it.
It's not a fail, so that's good.
Failure. That spells success.
So Pekome does not show any sign of thawing out from her stasis. For the tail end of your journey, would one of you go ahead and roll discreet at -2 just to see what kind of noise you're making right now?
That's a Pekome thing.
Well, it's definitely not a
that's
Pekome thing.
Mayra thing.
you said flat?
No, at
I mean, you did say one of you.
true.
Sorry, what's the modifier?
-2, please.
Okay. Boop. Ha, easy.
Excellent. Okay.
Mayra is
Yeah,
the
so-
master of stealth.
Mayra might not be able to put much force into actually moving Pekome around, but she does a good job of pointing out an optimal path that kind of keeps things a little quieter than Karmeon would be on his own.
Yeah,
And in
Reduces
time, you get
the
to that
horrible
bank.
scraping noise.
Mayra takes out the soundproof padding and the wall acoustic eggshell cartons and just plasters everywhere.
Puts them all over the cave.
That's literally what happens. No, kidding.
So you get back to the bank
Literally.
where Mayra came to, and nothing happens. What do you do?
How much further must we go, Karmeon?
I mean, by now maybe. So, you got hit further away, and that means that maybe it was less strong. And she got hit really close up, so maybe it was stronger.
Let us take a break for a moment.
Yeah, okay.
Stop right here.
Okay, yeah.
And then Mayra will kind of wheel around over to Pekome and try to do that lightly patting slash not really slapping, but definitely kind of a little bit of slapping on the cheek.
On the helmet?
I think she has a helmet on, yeah.
And on the helmet cheek.
Ding, ding, clank, ding.
How's
Just-
Pekome feeling? Does she feel like stone?
Yeah, well, it's a little difficult to tell because Pekome is clad in metal, and she's completely unyielding, so she does feel a little bit like stone beneath the armor. Whatever that sort of unpleasant noise was when you were starting to move her, there's no real sign of flexibility or anything like that. It is much like a statue. but
Okay.
a metal statue.
I suppose the easiest way to check would be to try to move her hand.
Mhm.
When that fails,
Breaking my hand.
Maida will just kind of give the face part a pat and say, perhaps we must go further away.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
time. You said I missed a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to tell time, but I think it's been about 3.5 hours. Since you cut out, and 3 hours and 25 minutes since Pekome cut out.
Well, we might as well continue. This is not a good place to stop.
No. So time definitely. You were under way less time, I think. Yeah. Yeah. No, way less. So yeah, but I don't know.
Maida will
know
grab
this
the
isn't-
rope and start pulling.
I know this isn't a thing that lakes do, but has there been any sort of tidal change?
There has not been
Okay.
any sort of tidal change. The water level
Okay.
appears to be the same
Okay.
as it was before.
Well, that's as good as it is not good,
Mm-hmm.
depending. And we'll take it. Karmeon will also go back to harnessing himself and just walking along.
All the while, Maida will tell Karmeon, to the best of her knowledge, sparing no detail, what she saw while she was suspended.
Great. Okay.
And did
Yeah,
you
so-
say Pegame or not? No?
I don't. I was not myself, perhaps, and perhaps she was not herself.
Was anyone brandishing a weapon?
There might have been an attempt.
Okay. That's something.
It could have been a dream, but to me,
Oh, I didn't tell you. I saw a giant snake, and I set out the bear traps. Pegome didn't see the giant snake, but the giant snake did roll over by bear traps, and those are gone. And then the chieftain, yeah, he got smeared.
perhaps
You probably didn't see that it was at the edge of the torchlight.
Perhaps it is because of the witchcraft you put into your eyes.
See, I was thinking that, but Pekame couldn't hear it either, and that's, you know.
Maida doesn't respond to that and just keeps pulling. And maybe we continue for another 30 minutes, hour? Until there's
Okay.
like a drastic geographical change, I guess?
Yeah, it will take more than 30 minutes to kind of skirt along the edge of this lake. It takes, yeah, I'd say maybe 45 before almost anything changes to your perspective, aside from the entrance that you came through disappearing. It is all very, very similar.
Karmeon will point out that this lake seems to have not killed him, and thus is safe to drink from. And thus, you should refill your water skin. And Karmeon will do that,
Okay.
and then, keep dragging away at Pekome.
Maida will not do that.
Okay.
If
What
we
is
have to come
Mara
back,
doing
you're
for
gonna-
water right now?
Let's see. Maida has whey bread. She has water skin.
Yeah, I'm just
She
wondering
eats
because
bread whenever
it's
she
been
gets
quite a bit of
thirsty.
time that y'all have been down here now, so I just
Mhm.
am curious as to how much she would have at this point in your estimation.
She's probably low. It's probably if it was a a source that wasn't adjacent to a forgotten dungeon where there were trolls and dragonflies and creepy
Dragonflies
trees,
being scarier than you think.
Undead creatures everywhere that could have
things that
contaminated the
bleed
water.
acid. You know, if it wasn't adjacent to all of that, then yeah, it would have been the smart thing to fill up her flask, but she's not going to do that right now.
Okay. Right. Let's see. You continue on, and I'd say about an hour and a half later, which is pretty exhausting, all in all, you reach the far side of this lake, or as far as Karmeon can tell, the far side of the lake. For Mera, it's much the same. And there's a sort of tiered series of ledges that you'll have to navigate to continue on, which is good in the sense that it's going up, but not so good in the sense that it is very difficult to handle with an unresponsive Pekome. And we'll see just how Pekome is unresponsive right now. If you'll go ahead and roll your Resolute at -3, please. Okay, fantastic.
Well, to confirm.
What happens if I crit this?
You'll find out.
Hey, we crit, boys.
Oh.
Great.
Just in time.
Pekome remains in this curious state where she is Kristoff observing this ceremony. Last we spoke with her, she had just been told to go sit down, and Mayro was sort of lurking by the entrance, watching as these 12 people filed into the room. What did Pekome get up to at the time?
She was gonna go like head to like the back of the room and like try to get out of sight.
Okay. Out of sight of who?
Just like, you know, be mostly in the corner or just not
Okay.
in the
Sure.
direct center.
Mm-hmm. Anywhere but the dais.
Mhm.
That's fun. So the room itself is certainly not made to have, little nooks to hide away in or anything. And the closest that you can come is more or less where Mayra was, although Pekome obviously had no idea, near the entrance. So we'll just kind of say that's where Pekome finds herself, standing and watching as the beginnings of a ritual sort of are formed publicly in the middle of this dais. Before you can glean too much of what is going on, and as these people are sort of spacing themselves out into a circle around this regal woman in the center, you feel a tremor kind of run up along your spine, and it feels very wrong, like something is just incredibly off. And for just a moment, you see the room in a very different light. It's more similar to how the three of you found it as you walked in. But instead of a gleaming crystal, that same woman that you had spoken to, the ruler in the center of the dais, kind of hovers at the core of where this crystal would be. And in that moment, she glances down and she makes eye contact with you, and there's this abrupt period of realization on her face, and she opens her mouth to say something at you, and then suddenly the scene is gone. You awaken without really awaking. It's more of a sudden snap back to reality. Everything that you saw is gone, and instead you are lashed to a table by some crude fashioning of ropes. There's quite a bit of scraping going on around you. You can hear the movement of water just off to your side, and there's the flicker of a torch somewhere just outside of your vision.
Pikomi's gonna try to like struggle out of the ropes.
Okay. I think, as Karmeon said earlier, it's more just to keep a stationary figure lashed into place, so you don't have too much trouble fighting yourself free. But as soon as you start to sit up or move about, you will feel an incredible pain in your left thigh.
She's gonna swear loudly at the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Pegome?
Did one of you break my leg?
Hmm. We almost
Did we?
dropped you. You are very heavy and very tall.
Thank you.
Maida immediately detangles herself from pulling anything and just sort of slumps down to catch her breath.
Karmeon doesn't even do that much and just sits down, still lashed to the. Really, it's been dragged across like God knows how many miles with multiple people on it. This was once a very nice table and now no longer is.
It's in a very sorry state at the moment, for sure.
Pikomi's gonna slowly like get to her feet while standing like dead center on the table.
Okay. Yeah, that's a difficult process. The more weight you put on your left leg, the more you realize that there is clearly, if not a break, a fracture at the very least in the bone.
You shouldn't do that.
Did you two not push at the same time?
No, we did.
You are alive. That is good enough.
She's gonna take a moment to look around and try to figure out where exactly she is now.
Sure. Picome, yeah, she stands on the edge of an expansive underground lake. You can probably see about 50 feet across the surface before it fades into darkness, but it shows no sign of stopping there. Behind her, there's a thin strip of kind of stone bank that you've quite clearly come from. And just ahead of you, there's a multi-tiered set of ledges that kind of raise up into the cavernous darkness of what is presumably an adjacent cavern. Cavernous darknesses and caverns.
But no lacquer.
No lacquer here.
Redundancy is redundant.
So she's definitely gonna like lean to the side, like in a sort of limp, and glance over at the other two, specifically Mayor at first, and be like, "Sorry about your hood. We were trying to make sure we didn't break you before pulling."
Yeah.
Maida just makes a dismissive gesture with her hand.
If we hadn't broken your hood, I wouldn't have known this would work.
And then she turns to Karmeon. I think that orb either sent me into the past or the future.
Why?
I saw a room filled with people. Like
Hundreds of people?
it's they were planning to sacrifice someone, possibly that barbarian. Where is he?
You know that snake you didn't see?
No, because I didn't see it.
Well, it also smeared him into the ground and took away the bear traps.
I do not think the barbarian was associated with them.
I think he was the sacrifice.
Well, whatever he is, he's gone now.
They said it would help them. She tries to remember the exact wording, but can't really. I think that's what happened to them. They sacrificed the barbarian, and then they were all just gone.
I think I found where they lived.
Yeah. And
It's
then
the other way. It's
she-
lower down.
she's gonna pause for a moment, and then somewhat worriedly say, "Also, I don't think it was a memory. At the last moment, I think they could recognize I wasn't the person I was inhabiting."
Maida makes a dismissive gesture with her hand.
Oh, wherever they are, we have enemies. Okay.
She's gonna look at Mayura and ask what it was like for her.
Maida will relay every detail of her experience as someone wearing much nicer clothes among much more polished company.
The clothes were all right, from what I remember.
Maida face palms. Typical noble woman. Should we rest before we start to climb?
How far does it look like they have to climb, Kevin?
It looks like it'll probably be about 40 feet vertical, but not all at once. There are a series of ledges, and between the ropes that you have, it's pretty likely that, someone a little more nimble and less incapacitated could do most of the actual climbing and then help leverage people up.
She's gonna
Thinking.
take one step forward with her bad leg and see how bad it actually is.
Yeah, there is a spike of pain that is intense enough to kind of do a kind of flash of white across your vision. And depending on Peikome's gumption right now, either she has to go back to favoring her other leg or she falls over.
I think she would fall forward and then catch herself with a hand on the ground.
Okay. Let's
You
say
know.
both hands on the ground, just so you don't
Okay.
break your arm.
I don't know.
Look, this is basically falling, which means my armor weathers the blow.
Oh, you're right. System-wise, you would get protection from it.
Maybe you should have Karmeon look at your leg.
I'll make a splint with whatever something.
Maida.
How does the table look like? How well does it look like it's holding up right now?
The table is as close to tatters as it can be without actually falling back to its component boards. If you were to lift it up, you would see that it's probably about as third as thick as it was at one point in multiple places where the stone has gouged out portions of wood.
Does it look like it could hold a pack? As
Yep.
we carry. All right.
Mhm.
She's gonna take off her pack with the extra armor and put it on the table first. And then look at Karmeon and Mayor and say, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it up there while also carrying all of this weight.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we just... If we can make it up there and then rest, that would probably be better than resting. I don't know. That's... I've made all the decisions for the past 4 hours. Someone else make a decision.
Maida starts to climb.
Okay, that's a decision.
Well, Maida will take one of the ropes and start to climb.
Okay.
Karmeon
Maida
keeps
will take...
the oldest but nicest rope in the world.
Yeah, the ropes. Well, rope. A rope. one singular rope.
And then, is there a close wall Pekome could use for support as she tries to climb?
Yes.
Kevin?
I'm sorry, I did not get the question.
Is there a wall Pekome could use for support as she...
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
She's going to favor her non-injured foot and slowly make her way up while holding onto the wall.
Okay. So
When Maida sees you moving, she's gonna say, "You should wait. I will roll the rope down. It will help."
I doubt you two could pull me very well
Oh,
with the almost broken sled.
it will be a guide. I cannot pull you up.
You're gonna pull you up. You're just gonna pull you up with a rope.
Yeah, it'll be way safer to have like a belay. So she's gonna just climb up. Toss your rope.
How well does she toss it?
from above, it's pretty easy to land. So presumably quite well. Is Karmeon up or is Karmeon down? At
No,
this point?
Karmeon is down.
Okay. So we're sending Pekome up in the middle?
Yes, it seems so.
Huh. Okay.
All right, so this is how Mayura gets pulled back down the stairs.
Maida is going to find an anchor of some kind.
Yeah, there we
Okay.
go.
Yeah, that sounds good. So you can. I mean, there are occasional boulders on the sides. There are pieces of stone that you can definitely anchor the rope to. And as you do that, you do set up conveniently for Pekome to start climbing. Pekome, go ahead and give me a strong test. So what are you still wearing, and what have you kind of offloaded to the
Well, while Mayura is like looking for an anchor, she's gonna start unhooking her armor and then just loading it onto Karmeon, who's right next to her.
Okay.
But we're gonna leave it in your pack, and you pull the pack up after you, and I will tie it. I got it.
You can put it in the pack.
Yeah, I got it. And Karmeon just continues resting.
So Pekome is down to like plain clothes, pretty much.
You just like her, like under leather.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Okay. So go ahead and give me a strong test.
All right. 0 minus.
Yeah, 0. Oh, okay. So Pekome starts to pull herself up, and because she's wisely shed most of the weight that she has, it is quite doable. But unfortunately,
Incredibly painful.
yeah, as she climbs up, she ends up twisting just enough that a sort of protruding rock ends up striking her broken leg, and it causes a sufficient wave of pain that she loses her hold and falls. But thanks to the rope, exactly how are you using the rope? Is it just something to pull yourself up on, or are you sort of tied into it somehow?
She's got it like wrapped around her arm and is holding on to it.
Okay,
And-
yeah. So you fall. The wrap kind of lets you kind of fall onto your, like, with your weight onto your arm rather than just tumbling down right away. But you will sort of spiral back down to the ground here.
Wow, Karmeon, thanks for the help. I think Karmeon died.
No, Karmeon's here. Just
Just watching me fall.
yeah. I mean, Karmeon's still sitting down. He's He's wiped. He hasn't even begun to move on to the task in front of him of reorganizing the armor. He just kind of watches that.
Ada unfurls her bedroll and goes to sleep.
You all suck.
Yeah, maybe we just take a breather. This is I had to carry so much. I had to carry all those hammers.
Hammers.
You know, the maces and all three of them. Then I had to go to the ancient city, and I had to look around for like an hour for a table.
Look.
Then I had to move the table. Then I had to get Mahira onto the table and drag Mahira all the way out here. Then I had to bring the table back. Then we had to move you, and that was so much. You were so heavy.
You're stronger than your scrawny body looks. You can push on just a bit further.
If I push on a bit further, I'm leaving you down here.
Well, then eventually we'll all be up there. I will make it.
I'm waiting down here with you.
Does he continue to just sit there?
Yeah.
And then a dragonfly attacks Mayura while she's sleeping at the top of the 40-foot climb alone by herself.
So Mara would not be all 40 feet up. Like, this is kind of a multi-tiered thing. So she could go all the way. But chances are she's like 15 or 20 feet above them right now.
So nap time will have to wait.
I mean, you could just... like, there are shelves, right?
Yeah.
So
Steps.
there's nothing to stop you from resting.
Pekome is gonna pull out her single-handed sword and sort of use it as a cane.
Okay.
Who takes first? It's been so long since we've had a watch. I mean, it's not, but it has been so long. Who takes first watch? It's you, then me, then Mira.
You can take the last watch this time.
Okay. I'm gonna go to bed. That smoke was something. And then Karmeon's gonna just get out his bedroll and...
No, Karmeon, climb first.
But no, I'm not leaving you down here.
She's gonna start climbing.
Only go back up. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Karmeon will start packing away.
So if Pekome is trying to climb again, you can go ahead and give another strength test. Hey, well done.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. This time it's a breeze. Honestly,
The
maybe.
cane helped.
I hope you weren't using the cane while you were climbing. But yeah, the little bit of rest and perhaps wanting to set an example for worn out Karmeon.
She's stubborn as hell.
Lets Pekome sort of just muscle her way up along the rope in the rock until she reaches the shelf that Mayra is tucked into. And you reach there. Karmeon can kind of scramble up with far less difficulty. And then the three of you are there. Is that where you choose to bed down?
Yes.
Well, apparently it's where they choose to bed down.
Yeah. Well,
This seems a terrible spot to rest.
invalids don't
As long
get
as you don't roll
Decide.
up, I mean off, Karmeon yells up,
And if we get attacked,
then we can kick them off. And it's...
what if we get attacked from above?
then
Be quiet
we won't get attacked.
and don't move.
Karmeon will finish packing up Pekome's armor and go tie it to the rope and then start climbing up himself.
Okay, great. Yeah, Karmeon can, well, So the gear is just at the bottom still.
Yes, he's
tied to
not
the rope,
pulling
right?
it up.
He's just climbing by
Right.
himself. Okay,
He
then you
just
don't need to
left the
roll.
gear
You'll
at
be
the
able to make
bottom. They can
with
pull it
the,
up later.
with the assistance
Yeah.
of the rope.
Yeah.
So yeah, all
okay.
three of you get up there. You're pretty well sorted.
Karmeon goes to sleep.
Mayu is already trying to sleep.
Mhm.
So broken leg Pekome, first watch, middle of staircase hell.
Okay. Do you still have a torch burning, or have you let that die out?
The torch she had was thrown into the crystal.
Right. Well, so
Maida has
Karmeon had a
Karmeon's.
torch. Yeah.
Yeah. Maida
So
would
I-
probably advise that we don't use it right now.
Okay. So your watch is a pretty
Pitch black affair.
pitch black affair. Yeah, you can't see even so much as a thing. But go ahead and roll vigilant at, we'll say, -5 because you're blind.
Yeah, but my other senses become stronger to compensate.
Is that how it works?
No, apparently not. But if it had worked,
Yeah. So as far as you can tell, it's dead quiet. It's probably a little unnerving to be sitting in the dark with no trace of anything around you, but you can hear the occasional stirring from Mera.
and the extremely loud snoring we have canonically confirmed Karmeon has.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good
Oh
point.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, not extremely. He snores.
You rolled an 8 out of 10.
So it's
You're right.
probably maybe annoying, maybe reassuring to have the sounds of your companions nearby in the dark, and you are unable to tell if there's anything out there beyond you. But
When
at least-
Karmeon stops snoring, it's like when all the bugs in a forest go quiet.
You know
Don't be
something's
afraid.
about to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have gone to sleep, and we'll speed through the next 2 watches because nothing will encounter the 3 of you in the
Except an
dark.
invisible weed snake.
You do at long last manage to get some rest, and all of you can regain a hit point or a stat point as you desire.
How's it looking, Stella? You almost caught up on your stats.
Oh my gosh, I will restore a point of resolve.
Uh,
I'm at 9.
Half health, boys.
Upon waking, being sore and in pain,
mm-hmm.
she'll just
Oh yeah, tell me about your pain.
she's gonna blindly reach out and like slap Karmeon wherever he is. Karmeon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm up.
Yeah, I will light the torch.
What? No, don't let it. What? A torch?
You need the torch to
No,
treat our wounds.
Oh.
Please do not try to heal me in the pitch black dark. Oh wait, you can see. Never mind. Wait,
yeah.
you have
It's
witch
so-
eyes.
Yeah. Just don't move. Alright, alphabetical order. Karmeon deals with himself first, then Meira, then Pekome. As everyone is pretty much dying.
Yeah, in various ways. Okay. Great.
Oh, beautiful.
And in order.
Wait, you haven't seen it yet, Stella. It could still be a 1 like it always is.
Ah. Of
Hey,
course,
Pekome
of course.
always
Pekome
gets
still
the
gets
best
the
healing.
most.
Keep
Well,
up,
yeah, that's quite a bit of healing for the 3 of you.
Wow,
Yes, they were all wounds that were easily dealt with as the medical professional, particularly the broken leg is the easiest of all to deal
Is that
with.
just fixed now?
Yeah, you splint it and it's fine.
Hollywood rules.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so y'all do get quite a bit more recovered over. I mean, it's been an exhausting period up to that. You've been chased by all manner of creatures. You've suffered a lot of setbacks and detours, but
We-
you do.
We
Get a
may
good
be
night's rest.
fatigued, but our wounds are better.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, you've had a pretty good night's rest, so things are looking up,
Karmeon
except
is
for the
pretty
fact
exhausted.
that you don't have any water. Well, Karmeon put in a marathon yesterday with a lot of carrying, so understandably so. But you wake up, and you're on this shelf, partway up, midway up, about a third of the way up, in fact, on the edge of this cavernous underwater lake, or underground lake. And what do you set about doing?
Picom is gonna slowly try to put her armor back on
Are you sure?
to see how it feels first.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Go right ahead. It will. I mean, most of it just feels like your armor, right? Getting your left leg encased in armor is a very delicate and painful process. Once it's on, it's a mixed blessing and curse in that it offers a little more support to your leg than Karmeon can offer with a splint from
It's
the
a
table
double
or
splint.
whatever else. But it also has a way of sort of constantly touching it a little more than you would like, and each touch does cause quite a bit of discomfort.
Well, look, if we can just get it to be constant pain, then eventually she can get over it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe just wear the breastplate.
With how much we get stabbed by everything in here?
You'll get a little less stabbed if you can move.
She continues putting her armor on.
Maida will pack up her things and start to climb.
Mayor, wait.
What?
You should be in the middle.
Why?
Because if we get attacked by either end, you're the only one with range.
Yeah. She gestures up the rock face to Karmeon.
Okay. Wait. No, you should be in the middle after all the climbing.
No, especially during the climbing. If we get attacked while climbing, we'll need her most of all.
Okay. But if we get attacked from behind while climbing,
Then
Her
either
being-
you or I will be there.
further up will be so much better. Karmeon insists while going to climb anyway.
Okay, great. Let's see. How does Karmeon look?
Kind of ugly, a bit scruffy.
Wow, that's not very kind for the person who's kept you alive.
Picom has never been very kind.
True.
Would I roll? My cat's being an asshole.
So you should probably roll strong, I would say.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, that's a bad.
I rolled a 19, the worst of all rolls.
Karmeon did make it just a little bit up the wall. And then his hands just peel away from their holds, and he's back where he started. A little bit of a bruise.
Karmeon thinks.
Picom is gonna loudly sigh and start making her way up
Okay.
after seeing Karmeon very
how
much
much?
struggle.
She's wearing all of her armor at this point?
Yes, but she's not carrying the pack. So it's just her armor and like her weapon.
You can make her roll.
Yeah, she's gonna do it.
Meta is gonna want to climb before you.
Just out climb her. Karmeon suggests.
Meira does not want to be at the bottom of the rope when Pekome falls off the rope in her full suit of armor.
Well, she can't fall off the rope. There's no rope ahead of her.
So go ahead and make a strength. Unless someone's physically stopping Pekome, I think she's attempting this.
Okay.
She's attempting it.
Right?
So go ahead
Karmeon
and make a
isn't
strength
stopping.
-5 roll, a strong -5 roll rather.
It's only a 45% chance.
Yeah, you do have a lot of strength to call upon here. Yeah, there you go. So
Just slowly, angrily, silently making
really-
her way up there.
beyond belief, Pekome manages to scale this next section, but at the same time, it isn't the most difficult climb in the world. I mean, Karmeon's still recovering from putting himself through the ringer, so it probably makes sense that he didn't make it up. And Pekome is insensitive to reality, so she does.
She's too stubborn.
She makes it up, and makes it up to really the top of this climb and the opening that leads to the next passage. And presumably she will kind of set up an anchor point with the rope.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And then she's just gonna like sit down beside it and hold on to it for a bit of extra help.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back.
Pekome made it.
Okay. Then Karmeon will gesture for Meira to be in the middle.
Okay.
The whole time Mayor is just like squished up against the wall waiting for her to fall.
Yeah.
She's like, don't crush me, don't crush me, don't crush me.
Is that your Meira voice? Does she also roll strong?
Yeah, go right ahead. Although it's gonna be like
A lot easier.
plus. I mean, I'd say +3 probably with the rope and not having to deal with wearing a bunch of armor or having a broken leg.
Hey,
Easy.
it's a fractured leg.
True. Yeah. So Meira can pretty conveniently scramble her way up the rope to join Pekome.
When we get back to Thistlehold, I want a long, nice bath. And I never want to step into ruins like these again.
If only stone could burn.
I mean, we have so much information, though.
Do we?
Karmeon, go ahead and make a strength +3 roll to ascend.
Okay. Karmeon goes and ties the pack of things to the rope and
Okay, great.
heads
So
on
all
up.
three of you get up to the top. You can pull the supplies up in your wake. Now, all three of you, would you go ahead and make a vigilant roll as Karmeon is climbing up?
At?
Just neutral.
Meira is a skilled
Hey.
hunter and notices all things.
Yeah. Okay. So you do notice as Karmeon is climbing, there's a little bit of a disturbance on that portion of the water below that is illuminated by the lantern or the torch. It's not much, and there's no sound that accompanies it, but you can see that there are pretty sizable ripples that come from somewhere deeper in the lake and just kind of softly move their way up to the shore and splash against the rocks there. Karmeon doesn't notice anything. He's preoccupied with climbing.
Mayra,
What?
shoot to the far side of the lake.
I thought too. The last thing you want is to piss off whatever
No, don't
lives in the
hit it.
water.
Make sound at the far end of the lake.
Why?
So it goes that way.
Hmm. But if it's smart, it will be able to see us.
It could see us already.
Then what's the point of wasting an arrow?
On the chance
What
it
are we
goes
shooting?
after the sound. Just a thing rippling in the water behind you.
Oh, climbing.
Mayra will shoot an arrow to the far side of the lake, which will
Okay.
probably make no sound.
We just gotta hit the wall.
I mean, the lake is fucking huge. You're just gonna hit a part of the lake, but
Hey, water
Listen,
still makes a
I
sound.
am
yeah,
an
No,
expert
that's
marksman, okay?
If you miss a lake, I'm gonna be very upset.
So
with
this arrow streaks out into the darkness. And keep in mind that Pekome and Mayra have not seen more than 40 feet across of this body of water. So who knows where it's going, right?
Yeah, Mayra can't see where it's going. As soon as she lets the arrow rip, she looks over to Pekome and she says, I expect to be reimbursed for that.
Didn't I pay for the last ones?
Mayra will turn away.
There's an almost imperceptibly quiet. Well, hang on.
Hey, I'm very vigilant right
Okay.
now. I rolled a 2.
Me
There's an
too.
almost imperceptibly quiet, just splink of something striking the water in the far distance, and nothing else
So
comes.
So the lake is very big.
It may seem that way, yeah.
Assuming she didn't just shoot it straight down after 40 feet.
Oh, ye of little faith. You've seen, oh my god, Mayra pinned down a freaking troll with an arrow.
Yeah, there was that time where we all killed people through their eyeballs.
yeah, that happened.
Okay, let's
Oh.
get out of here.
Pekome will slowly get back to her feet.
Okie dokes. So, how do you set things up party-wise in terms of orientation as you're heading out? Who's where?
Being the slowest, and is there more climbing, or are they?
You're at the top of the climbing. You will be entering an adjoining kind of chamber in this cave network.
Well then, being the slowest, and there not being more climbing, Pekome is going to volunteer to take the rear.
Okay.
Mayra will light a torch. And
But-
be in the middle.
Didn't we already have a torch?
I assume that... Yes. Okay, torch is lit. Listen,
I
we're
mean,
going that
remember-
way. The torch is lit. We got witch eyes
She
in
lights
front.
a second torch. She's dual wielding torches. You know, Mayor, you could always use the third eyedropper Karmeon got.
You actually have that,
I
and
know.
haven't given it back.
I'm aware. I'm afraid you're gonna put it in your eyes again.
Well, I have. I actually think that it's more useful to be sold. I have 2 eyes that are proof that there are very few negative side effects.
Mayra just starts
Is it-
laughing. She's like, until we get to what this will hold.
Yeah, we've yet to see what happens in direct sunlight.
Yeah,
Or, more than a couple of days.
Or,
Yeah.
a city full of people will see
Mhm.
your strange witch eyes.
they'll just think I'm
So-
blind. You can just
Ma-
leave me.
Mayra, when you go to get a new hood, maybe pick one up for Karmeon.
I was thinking that.
You mean when Karmeon goes to pick me up a new hood?
You're the one who can, at any point, look like a normal person.
So out of curiosity, and I've been listening for it, so I'm pretty sure this is not the case, but no one has actually told Meira about her eyebrow, right?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
The one single bare tip
I
that
forgot
has
about
been
that.
sliced slightly off.
Since she decided not to get any water from the lake, I was like, I guess she hasn't seen anything reflected yet.
You were gonna-
No one has mentioned it.
You were gonna show it
Oh.
right at her. You're just like, I'm waiting. Come
I
on,
was,
shine.
Oh my
Okay.
god, I forgot. Oh.
Yeah, and Peikome's armor and this new armor are probably way too dirty at this point for a reflection.
Yeah.
Wow.
More or less. Okay,
So-
cool.
Mater's bald and only has 1.5 eyebrows.
Yep.
Cool.
And that
Gonna-
half eyebrow is pretty ragged.
Oh, dang.
Gonna be completely hairless facially at this rate.
Oh, she's gonna look even more weird. Yeah, so she's just gonna push Karmeon along. Let's go.
Mhm. Okay. So go ahead and make a vigilant roll as you're leading the way. Karmeon?
Yeah, Karmeon.
Okay, Karmeon leads the way and uses his witchy eyes.
What do your witch eyes see? Everything, apparently.
wait, hold up.
You can go ahead and confirm that.
He sees the inside of his eyeballs.
Oh no, that's
His
awful.
FOV went too far.
Oh god.
I'm sorry. I
Don't
killed
kill our
Hold on, let me turn
leading
Kory
party member right
down.
now.
He's now at 69%.
Wow. On one hand, nice. On the other hand, I can't imagine having him that high under any circumstance.
Listen, Discord like recalibrated their levels.
Okay, I'm back. Don't
It's
make me laugh.
Kory Bop. It's Kory.
Oh god,
Kory is sick, that's why he's coughing a lot.
don't make me laugh.
Also, we're really freaking hilarious. That's why he's coughing a lot.
We?
I am hilarious.
We're hilarious.
Okay.
So Karmeon, now that you're back,
Yes,
you
tell me
do
what I said.
see an awful lot stretching out above you. This cave leads up in a gradual, very uneven sort of slope. You get higher and higher, and you can tell that there is a constant sort of trickle of air that's coming through that speaks to fresh wind somewhere above. Around you, off to the sides and in some of the less accessible portions of the cave, you can see on the ground there are kind of stacks of little piles, and at first you may not be entirely sure what they are, but they kind of look like they're leavings or like a guano kind of,
Okay.
which may lead you to glance up. In fact, it does lead you to glance up. And
Okay.
above, kind of hanging from the ceiling, you can see that there are these somewhat large bleach white albino bat-like creatures. They're certainly not bats, I'm just kind of using that as an equivalent. But they do have somewhat veiny arms with long wings, and but their heads are a little more bird-like. They don't have feathers, but they have long downturned beaks. And they appear to be sleeping. There are a good number of them above. You would probably guess somewhere between 10 and 15.
Karmeon
Sleeping
puts
in a
his arms
cluster.
out
Mhm.
and slows to a stop.
Just for reference for Karmeon, how large are they?
Oh, they're about. Best guess would be maybe a foot to a foot and a half long.
Okay, so like regular-ish size bird.
Well,
Things.
kind of large. Kind of
Yeah,
large,
the
to be
size of a
honest.
cat.
Not like harpy-sized.
Yes, they're not harpies. Good clarification. It is kind of like the size of a cat, or like a hawk almost,
Oh, sweet.
like a large hawk.
Cave hawks.
Hawk, cat, bat.
I mean, they don't look like hawks in any other sense. I was just using that for a size comparison.
K-pop.
Okay.
Karmeon keeps his arms out as he stops. He
Mm-hmm.
looks back to the other two and he puts a finger up to his lips.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't met anything that didn't want to kill us. Well, we met two things that didn't want to kill us. But
Pekome points at him.
one of those things killed the other, and the other only I saw.
You're forgetting you.
There's things up there, they look like they're asleep. Light might not bother them, but we might want to put the torch out, but maybe that's a bad idea if they start getting ideas.
Or if we, I don't know, trip on something or crush something.
As they're pointed out, are we close enough to see them
No,
in the
they're too high for the torch to reach. So you
Okay.
kind of just got to go on Karmeon's explanation.
The light does not reach them, so
Oh yeah, I mean,
there's no reason to extinguish it.
well, I mean, you can be outside the light of a torch, but see the light of the torch, you know?
It's very religious.
I imagine that in the dark they're not used to the light.
Yeah, they probably don't. But anyway, we should just be very careful when you walk, and maybe let's not talk very much.
You know I don't really do stealth, right?
I know that.
Here we go. Let's be sneaky.
Mayra,
What?
you're still in the middle, and you try and point out anything that, you think she might trip on.
Maida,
Like her fractured leg.
Maida will hold your hand, Pekome. She'll lead you through the darkness, but with a torch in her other hand. So kind of not really total darkness.
Excuse me, Pekome's got the bigger hands. She's holding your hands.
Okay, weird flex. Discreet at what?
Yeah, so y'all, it is sounding less and less sneaky, isn't it? So Karmeon and Mayra can roll just regular discreet. Pekome is going to be rolling at -1.
All right, cool. 15% chance to succeed. Let's go. No, 20%. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Karmeon
Hey, that's
creeps
both.
forward quietly and alertly. For all the good it does. Because his two companions can't keep quiet to save their lives, as it were. Mayra is holding a hand out for Pekome behind and trying to support this effectively one-legged, heavy-armored Ambrian noblewoman who's tromping through the cave just about as loud as she can, which itself puts Mayra somewhat off balance, and the two of them make quite a clutter and a ruckus. And the noise of Pekome's armor sort of scraping on stone, particularly as she stumbles over something, is jarring even to human ears. The creatures above wake with a sudden and quite audible flapping of, membranous wings. And there's sudden screeching from above.
Despite me wishing it to be true,
Yes.
there aren't any houses around to hide in.
There are, in fact, no houses to hide around.
Yeah, okay.
Have you tried searching for invisible houses?
No,
I feel like y'all are referencing things I don't understand.
No, my mental image of this cave is that there are houses. It's a
Oh.
very stupid
Because of
mental
your
image to
previous
have.
exploration. Yep,
Yeah.
no such luck. This is a pretty long, it almost looks like a valley like water carved it out at some point, though that water is long since gone. The walls sort of slope up and away in each direction. there are boulders and uneven footing here and there as you make your way up. And now there is a flurry of activity in the air. These creatures swirl down from the ceiling and circle around you in an angry throng. And Pekome and Meira can finally see what Karmeon was pointing out. These red-eyed, white-bodied, winged creatures that look as large or larger than your head now that they're flying around. Just their body, not counting their wings. Some of them appear to peel off and, from the sounds of their cries, head elsewhere, up ahead, which you can't discern much beyond that. But the rest spiral down and look fit to attack. So we will pull up our little turn order here with our preloaded values for the three of you.
I roll 15 for initiative.
Oh, wow.
I roll 14.
What a good roll.
I roll 14, but I have a -1 because of my leg.
Yeah.
I roll a 1, but plus 10, because I said so.
Because you're secretly a magical girl?
I don't like it being a swarm. I disagree.
Ada evolves
Wait,
into...
no, I do like it being a swarm. Can we flank a swarm?
Do you have AoE attacks?
What's your vigilant at, Kory?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you do not go first. This is what I'm getting here.
Yeah.
Let me
Man.
look at Karmeon.
How's that feel, Karmeon?
Vigilant 8. Yeah. Okay. All right. So these guys are definitely higher.
And then, it'd be really sad if we survived being frozen in time just to die to a bunch of bat hawks.
That would be
Hawks.
unfortunate.
Hats.
So this swarm
A swarm of hats.
swoops down on the three of you, and it concentrates on Meira in the middle, holding the torch.
So
shit.
we were holding hands. We're right on top of each other.
Yes.
Is it possible, like, when they woke up, to say that, like, Pekome would have tried to push Meira behind her?
Yeah, absolutely. They'll still like focus on her, but you can be in the middle if you'd like to be. If you know,
Mhm.
depending on how Meira reacts to getting jerked around.
Meira will shrink behind
Mhm.
Pekome like a coward.
Yeah, that's fine. It is unfortunately not the most effective defense against winged creatures that are swooping down from above, but the spirit of the effort is there. Meira, would you roll to defend at -3?
Oh, jeez. Really? Oh,
Yeah, they have an accurate of 13.
I-
Accurate. Are they ranged weapons?
I don't think I can pass this. Oh!
Excellent. Great work.
Lesson learned.
Do it
Doubt
once more.
yourself.
Oh, I don't think I can pass this.
Doubt harder, Stella.
Ugh.
Okay, great. So you will take just 1 point of damage.
Okay.
These creatures swarm in, and one kind of goes for Meira's head, but she manages to duck away from it. And then she feels another kind of impact on her back and a tear through the leather of her armor, and just the smallest of gouges into the back of her shoulder before they kind of spiral away. Karmeon, it is your turn.
Alright, do some crazy shit.
Karmeon gave up his torch, so the only crazy shit one could do in this circumstance, Karmeon can't. So
You could go, like, jump off into the lake. That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy. It would also take more than one turn.
yeah. As far as turns go, it's been a while since we were. So Karmeon will free his dagger quite easily and take a bit of time to get out his rapier, and he'll set forth on assaulting the nearest Bathawk. Bach.
Okay. So I think it does take a movement action to draw your weapons.
It does take a movement action to draw.
So if you're drawing each of your
Larger
weapons
and
and
not
moving.
smaller ones.
Oh, okay. Is the specific trait of your weapons that they can be drawn
Yeah,
quickly?
the daggers can be drawn for free.
Okay,
the small
fantastic. Yeah, go right ahead then. So just slide on up, and you can go ahead and attack. They, excuse me, affect your attack. You'll be rolling at -5.
I can still technically hit. But I miss.
That's okay. Yeah. So you lash out at the air with the rapier, but it is an exceptionally difficult task. These are agile creatures. They are not trapped on the land like so many people are when you fight them. And
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask. As far as the terrain, you said it was kind of valley-like. Is there a point within reach nearby that would be kind of trench-like?
trench-like.
Yeah.
Not as such.
Not easily.
The valley is a little more just in sort of a broad strokes, like if
Yeah,
you were to
okay.
think of Grand Canyon,
yeah,
but smaller. Yeah, not so much
Okay.
trenches. So that makes it Peikome's turn.
Are they reacting at all to like the torch that Mayor is holding?
I mean, they're kind of angrily swirling around her. Maybe
Hmm.
that's due to the torch. Maybe that's just due to you being there. But
Alright.
they don't seem to be like inherently frightened of the fire or anything like that.
All right. So Mayra is gonna need both hands to use her bow, and we also need to be able to see. So Pekome is going to reach out to take the torch
Okay,
as her movement action if Mayra would let her,
Yeah, take it.
sure.
and she'd also like get her shield ready.
Okay, so she's holding the torch in one hand and the shield in the other?
Yeah.
Perfectly fine.
And then with her actual action, she's going to try and like either intimidate, like, you know, like in Indiana Jones waving the torch to like scare off snakes, or just, you know, like get them to back off a bit or get their attention on her either way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do sort of, as the torches flashed about, they cartwheel around the flame, and their cries grow a little angrier. Mayra, it is your turn.
Mayra will draw her bow, which uses her move, and she'll shoot.
17 arrows and kill them all in one shot.
She'll shoot one of them with her bow. The closest one.
Go right ahead. That is a modifier of -5.
Wow. That's awful. We should
But
run.
you're super accurate.
We should run, Mayra says.
Uh,
Very solid. Yeah, good hit.
all right. So crippling effect. What is it? Strong?
So
I mean, does that even
crippling
work?
effect isn't necessarily going to apply here. The arrow that you shoot skewers one of these creatures, and it outright dies. It spirals to the ground and falls dead, not far from your feet.
Oh, beautiful.
You pin the entire swarm by shooting one.
Yeah, they're all stuck by association. Okay.
They're a
yeah,
very collective group, the swarm. So if one of them is stuck, of course, all
I
of
mean, it
them
wouldn't
will.
be the most surprising thing to
solid.
run into when you're dealing with mystical creatures, but
I
it
know.
certainly is not the case here.
You know what they say? Birds of a tawny hide get pinned together.
So Maida passes over the torch and she slings her bow off her shoulder, notches an arrow, and just pierces straight through the breast of one of these creatures, and it just falls to the ground in a sloppy thump. And that's my turn.
Okay,
It was
fantastic.
an impressive turn.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the swarm has been drawn to Pekome by the waving about of her torch, so it will attack her. Go ahead and roll to defend at -3. Okay, great. So you do do that once more. Okay. So you don't take any damage from either of those. They kind of
Like a
swirl
whole lot of
about
clanking and
you.
thunking against my armor.
Their beaks are kind of biting into the metal, but it turns out that is not a very good way to get past metal. And they do seem to realize this. They kind of thin out around Pekome just a little bit.
Oh no, that
Karmeon.
means they're gonna go for other people.
It is your turn.
Quick, while they're all surrounding me, stab them, but don't stab me.
This is where Kevin's like, haha, they have master acrobatics.
I mean,
Well, they have
anyone
wings.
out of everyone to get put in front of an attack, you want it to be me, because there's a chance even if it hits, I block the damage.
All right. Well, Karmeon will yet again -5. Stab away. Nope.
Okay.
One
Good
away
try.
from the worst
Good
roll.
effort. And Pekome.
All right, so does the system treat it sort of like D&D, where like turns are very like within seconds of each other, all really fast back-to-back actions?
Yes. What's the context for the question?
So like in the same time that the swarm's attacking me, I could use that chance, like saying, "Hey, they're all close on me. I'm gonna try and hit what I can with the torch."
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want me to just do like a strong roll -5 for that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And just go ahead and roll 1d6. Okay. So you do kind of bludgeon a creature with the torch. It's not enough to kill it, and the contact is fleeting enough that it doesn't really light into flame, but there is a sizzle and sort of this rank, fleshy smell fills the air, and that particular flying thing shrieks out in pain and spirals away.
See, that's basically like defeating it. It's not coming back. It just got slapped with a torch.
Uh-huh. Mera.
Another arrow.
Okay.
-5.
-5.
Yeah, you can do it.
I did it.
Is it wounded? Can she pin it?
No, so this arrow will catch a creature, but it kind of catches it in the wing and it tears right through. But it's a fairly small hole. The thing kind of flits away, I mean to say, into the darkness, and you lose track of it, but it might still be there, it might not.
The
It
creature
turns into
yeets
17
away.
more birds and fleets away.
It flits away.
It yeets away.
Do you want to die? Okay,
gonna
so it's the
yeet
swarm's
me?
turn. I'm not gonna yeet you.
A blue crystal appears in the room.
But the swarm, yeah, you'll yeet yourself. So the swarm concentrates back on Meera, where she's kind of flinging arrows out at them.
Where
So
I'm
go ahead.
eating
And roll. Actually, don't roll. You just you die. You get killed. That's it. That's
Birds
the
fall.
end. Roll to defend at
-30.
-3. Hey, nice. And
Confirm.
do it. Yeah, go ahead and confirm.
I believe.
Nope. Okay, and roll to defend for the second attack now.
Hey, you know, at least that's a good block.
Yeah, that's a very solid block.
Cool.
Okay, so one kind of darts down at Meera, but she just extremely nimbly tumbles away, and it almost crashes into the ground where she had been standing a moment before. Another one catches her, but it is unable to penetrate her armor. And that's the turn cycle. It's Karmeon's turn now.
Talking's a free action, right?
It is, yeah.
All right.
Not for me.
So, Pagomi's gonna yell out that Karmeon should take the torch since she doesn't believe he can hit one of the birds.
Karmeon shoves away his rapier and stabs away with his parrying dagger.
Okay. Roll to attack at -5.
Do you take
I
the
can't
torch
hit.
during this, or
Actually, in fact, you know what?
I mean, you could
Actually,
always
I-
critically succeed, right?
yeah, you'd have to double roll a 1, so you have a 5% chance to hit.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, I think it's... Yeah. Okay, no, I have a less than 5%. Like, it's 5% of 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You were very close.
Okay,
Okay. So you don't.
I just rolled twice rather than...
You
Okay.
didn't -5 it.
What? What? Okay. Wait.
Yeah,
So
You
why
didn't
was it?
put the -5 in.
Oh,
I just
okay.
tossed... Yeah,
Yes,
no.
I
just
understand
tossed
now.
2 rolls out.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
if they
So
were both...
no connection there, and Kame's turn.
Did you take the torch?
Yeah, I'll take the torch.
Okay.
You have to... I assume it's going to take your action to pass the torch, you know.
Well, I mean, when you were putting your rapier away, you could have also said, "I grabbed the
Yeah.
torch with that." Right?
Yes.
I mean...
DM.
I mean, I think probably handing off a torch and drawing a weapon is a pretty involved process, but we can say that it kind of just consumes your movement in this particular case, anyway.
So, my movement or his movement?
Both?
Well, both of your movements have been spent on that at this point.
All right. Well, then I will have to do a quick check to see if I can pull out my sword.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Hey,
You
Okay.
can.
we got a weapon, boys.
Nice. Which one?
The one-handed sword.
The
right.
normal
Yeah.
one.
You can't quick draw the two-hander, can you? Or can you?
I can quick draw anything.
Oh, okay. Cool. We'll go ahead and attack at -5.
It's close.
And Mayra.
Do I have... Mayor's got the best. You have a 15?
Yeah. This is my good stat, and everything else kind of sucks.
That's the game for you.
I mean, my vigilant is okay, but that never pans out.
My persuasive is my other good stat. Otherwise, I'd have a 15. In my first persuasive roll, I failed.
So that's 8 damage, DM.
Okay, fantastic. So you catch another bird, and it kind of tries to flap once and then twice, and then it just spirals down to the ground ahead of you with a kind of wet thud as it connects with the stone. And the cries have grown increasingly angry all around you, but now the swarm lifts. There's still quite a few birds left, but I mean, I'm using birds very lightly here. But they have clearly not enjoyed the engagement, and they kind of swarm away now. They leave the light of the torch, and Karmeon can see that they kind of soar up further ahead and then out around some sort of obstruction that you can't quite make out, and vanish from sight altogether.
I don't think it's the best of ideas, but I think it's our only idea as far as an exit of going the way they just did.
Well, if it leads to a tighter room, it would at the very least be easier to fight.
They are scared of us. They are fleeing. They are not going to attack us again. Let's go.
Okay.
We should get out of here as soon as possible, anyway.
Karmeon will head off after.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, let's follow them.
Picom is gonna keep her sword out.
Mm-hmm.
Unless those were babies, and then in the next room there's an even bigger one. Oops.
Yeah.
Here's the actual harpies I was
you
asking
meet
about.
the parents that are unhappy, to say the least. But no, in fact, as you turn the corner, the feeling of air upon your face becomes far more substantial, and you kind of face a long, narrow passage that winds its way up at nearly a 30-degree angle. So it's quite a steep ascent. And it gets progressively more choked as you approach. It's, for Peikome mostly, going to become increasingly tight to squeeze through, but it's doable as you approach what appears to be an increasing source of light.
A source of light.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the last source of light we found was very bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it was less up.
Oh god, it's a ground crystal.
Shut up.
Okay, so this pinprick of light expands, and at first it's, diffuse, but then as you get close enough to see it directly, it is almost blinding with so much time spent in the dark. But you push on, presumably, because it's just about the only way that you can go right here. And you feel more and more wind and see more and more light until finally Karmeon squeezes his way out of a roughly man-sized gap in the stone to emerge kind of on this very steep rocky side of a hill, out once more into the forests of Davokar. He stands on a narrow ridge, no more than about 8 inches or so wide, and about 20 feet up above the ground. But before him and before the others, as they manage to fight their way out alongside him, are a, if not familiar in direct location, familiar in essence, spread of foreboding trees and plains and the sounds of wildlife. You have found an alternate passage out of these ruins and back onto the forest proper.
And then rocks fall, TPK. Session over.
No, you've successfully brought everyone back from incapacitation and navigated your way out.
I was very,
Davokar
for whatever
once more.
reason, like I had.
Guys, we still have stop. No victory laps. We still have travel rolls.
No. When he was describing what you were seeing out there, for whatever reason in my head, I was certain he was gonna say like one of the ghosts that we fought 3 times was just
The
sitting out there.
frostlight is just hanging in the passage. That would be unfortunate. But no, in fact, that is not what you encounter. It's just the light. It does appear to be late in the afternoon. Your sense of time is probably massively off because you've had nothing to base it on for quite some time now. And but you've made it, and that has to be a big weight off your shoulders.
Woo.
And I think that's probably where we'll wrap up for this session. The next one we'll kind of go over figuring out where you are and then how to get home from there and hopefully survive in doing it.
Thank
There
you
are
so
19s in our future.
much. Wow. Oh, ye of little faith.
Look, maybe we should let anyone else navigate because
Listen.
we're guaranteed to
Listen.
fail the vigilance, but at least there's less likely chance we'll roll a 19.
Listen. We've made this trek a couple of times now. Maida knows what to do now, alright?
She knows
For
exactly where to
sure.
go to fight a ghost.
I just want to say thank you so much, Obdurant, again for DMing another wonderful session. Thank you for not killing us. And
Stella, you owe me like 1,000 treats because I won the bet. Kory saved us.
so you know how I was talking about Oh Ye of Little Faith?
Yeah, you were the OE of Little Faith.
Yeah. I was like, Faith, we're gonna die. We have to roll new characters. Kory's gonna kill us all. But proven that was not the case. Thank you so much, Kory. We'll do some shout outs real quick and we'll go see if there's anybody we can raid. Kory, is there anything you'd like to tell our lovely audience here?
Hello, everyone. You can catch me streaming at twitch.tv/wealthyfreezingpotsdansgame. My name is Dans, apparently, in this yeah.
Are you just reading the clip name again?
And that's not even the most recent one. You could have
No,
gone
it was
with
the second most recent one because I've already made a joke about depressed, silky, curly Curlew Shady Lulu.
Shady Lulu.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Next we have Vertigo Cross.
Hi. I stream video games, sometimes with Stella, mostly by myself. At the moment, I'm playing Pokemon Knights of the Old Republic, and I'm gonna be streaming Catherine soon
But where do you stream?
at Vertigo Cross, same name as me.
Nice.
His link is there in the chat. Last but not least, Obdurant. Anything you'd like to tell our friends here?
Hi, hello. I am Obdurant. I don't stream, but I do show up for RPGs on this channel every Wednesday and sometimes on Fridays. And I also play a lot of Destiny with people in Stella's Discord community. If any of that sounds cool, you should give it a look. And that's all.
Excellent. Yes. If you
And
enjoyed
don't forget Stella Luna, our favorite streamer.
That is that me? Aw. Thank you. So yes, if you like to play Destiny 2, we do have a community here. We play video games together. We like to hang out with one another, and the link is there in the chat for our Discord if you want to get in on some of our community raids. We do raid nights every Thursday. Most Thursday nights. You can find more information there in the Discord. I am Stella Luna. If you enjoyed our show here today, please consider giving the channel a follow. That way you get notifications for when we go live. We do have various types of TTRPGs that we play here. We have played Pokemon D&D in the past. We do plan on bringing that back at some point. We are going to be starting up a Ghosts of Saltmarsh game, and we are currently doing a Dark Matter sci-fi D&D game where Obdurant is one of our cast members there. And I hope that everyone had a wonderful day and that you enjoyed the show, and we hope to see y'all next time.
Don't dream of hats.
Kory, I hope you feel better.
Kory, go drink some tea.
I am out. I never had my ginger tea with honey.
You should have considered that. It helps a lot.
Well, June didn't give it to me.
Oh, wow. That's
All right, friends. Have a good night. Bye.